is your academic qualification and experience. 2 minutes.
From TURKANA Central, Calcul specifically. Educational background. Primarily, I started as a school teacher, P1. Then I got a diploma in community development. There I got university. After which then I got finance and leadership from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture, formerly called JKUAT.
Then what else naturally? That's the educational background. I'm fighting for seat of member of parliament.
TURKANA Central, and I feel I'm suited for it. I've been your deputy governor from 2013 to 2017. Before then,
I was in charge of Equity International, specifically a manager of social protection, in charge of East, West, and Central Africa, Nairobi office.
That was after I worked for Oxfam GB in Turkana County.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Next candidate.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Roberts Eloto Abok, popularly known as Dr. Bok, aka Dr. Bok. I am, by training, an obstetrician and gynecologist, a specialist in women medicine with 18 years experience. I think I'll go back to where I started my school. I went to Lokichigi Primary School up to class 3, went to Lodo Primary where I finished my primary school, where I was the 4th best in the county. And then I went to Lodo High School. From Lodo High School, I went to the medical school in Nairobi, where I qualified with a degree in Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, popularly known as MBCHB, Medicinae Baccalaureate, and Chirurgiae Baccalaureate. I also further went back and qualified with a mastership, Masters of Medicine in Obstetrics and Gynecology in the same university. I have had 18 years experience as a doctor and as a specialist at various levels and managing impactful, high impact, low cost intervention on areas of women medicine affecting especially many regions in Kenya. I started my work as a medical officer in Nakuru, then came back to Lodwar, where I served as a medical officer for a short time before going to Lopiding, where I worked as the officer in charge in the War Hospital immediately after the departure of ICRC. I worked and managed the War Hospital and then was brought back to Lodwar as the district medical officer for health for about 3 years before I proceeded also as the MOH for Trans Nzoia East and Kwanza. Thereafter, I went for postgraduate in women medicine. I came back and from 2012, I was in charge of Lodo County Referral Hospital. At the same time, I was a specialist in fistula surgery and even actually worked for 2 or 3 years as a flying doctor for AMREF as a fistula surgeon and a gynecologist visiting many areas in Kenya. Thereafter, I was the district medical services officer for health for Turkana and then joined the UNICEF as the health specialist in charge of RMNCH, which is reproductive, maternal, child, newborn child and adolescent health. I was in charge of this program for about 4.5 years, where I was working in Turkana, West Pokot, Baringo, Samburu, and in charge also of the refugee population and some areas of Nairobi. I worked there and then came back and worked as the chief officer for health in Turkana County government. But basically, Aramca specialist, which is reproductive, maternal, newborn and child health, supporting many programs in this country. I am vying for the MP, for the post of the MP Turkana Central on Baba's party, ODM. And I think with wide experience, leading highly impactful, wide-ranging programs that have impacted on the lives of women, newborns and children, I think I am the one who has been in the trenches, the one most qualified to take Turkana County, Turkana Central forward.
Thank
very
you,
much.
Robert. Thank you, Robert. The next candidate.
A very good evening to all of you. First, I would like to appreciate the organizers of this very nice event for bringing us here. I'm Joyce Akai Emanikor, currently Women Rep Turkana County for the last 10, this is the second term. I am a candidate for PhD from Nairobi University. I've just finished my proposal and waiting to do, I finished the coursework and waiting to do the research. Initially, I started my primary school in Lokori Primary. Then I transferred to Kalokol, where I finished my primary school. And I did my secondary school privately. Those years, we had the Kenya Junior Secondary School certificate, which I did at Lodo High School. And I did my O-levels in Eldoret, Sirikwa. And I have done my undergraduate full-time from Daystar University after securing a scholarship from the Reformed Mission League and the Tear Fund UK organizations to sponsor my studies and my family because we went together. I have done my master's, the bachelor's degree is in development, community development major and minor in peace and reconciliation. My master's is in development studies from Manchester, the University of Manchester. So far, in terms of the academics, I think that is it. I started my career as a primary school teacher. I taught for about 2-3 years. Then I became a primary school inspector for about 2 years. Then I joined the Bible Society of Kenya and spent about 12 years writing the Turkana Bible, translating, reviewing, and typing the whole of it into the computer. And that's why we now have the Turkana Bible. After which, then I went for the studies. But that is my first achievement, major achievement, is the production of the Turkana Bible. After my undergraduate, I worked with a consultancy firm as a development consultant with an assignment from the World Bank, where we did an assessment of phase 1 of the Arid Lands Project, which Turkana was part of it, in the whole of Kenya. After which I joined Oxfam GB, Great Britain, for 10 years as an education officer, at some point acting also as the coordinator when my coordinator Eros was out of the country on an assignment for about 3 months. Then after that, I went for my master's. When I came back, I resumed Oxfam briefly, but I was poached by UNICEF as an emergency education consultant, working for Turkana, Wajir, and Garissa, supplying education materials during that most severe drought in that period. And I did supply a lot of materials to the education institutions, particularly primary schools, in terms of the beddings, mattresses, beds, and learning materials. After that, within those years, I also was the chairperson. I was appointed by President Kibaki as the chairperson of Kerio Valley Development Authority, which that position I held for about 3 years.
You have a minute to sum up.
Yes. So from that, after that, I resigned to join politics in 2013, and that's where I am now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next candidate.
Thank you so much for this, and it's a happy evening for each one of us, and I'm glad that I'm here. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the strides that you, Chocha, are continuing to do. I'm happy and proud that you guys are also able to convene this. Last time when we met, I said that we need to bring a bigger team like we are seeing in front, and that is a plus for you, and it's a growth. My name is Joseph Emathe Namwar. I am vying for MP Turkana Central. I have 3 degrees. 3 degrees, 2 are undergraduate and 1 is master's. More university, I did business management. University of Nairobi, I did my master's. University of South Africa, Pretoria, I did development studies. I started my journey in Kerio Primary, went to Nakurio Primary, and passed with 543 marks out of 700, the 5th in the district as at that time. Joined my high school Kabarak, got good marks, and joined Moi University directly for my bachelor's degree in business management. I have worked with World Vision. Started as an intern on the 7th of October 2003. That is when my journey started of working, earning 10,000 shillings down there in Loitoktok for 1 year. Loitoktok is in Kajiado County. Then in 2005, January, I joined World Vision now as a staff. I was the first intern to join World Vision as a Turkana. In 2005, I joined in as a development facilitator. Lucky enough, I worked with Lomenen as one of my staff there in Lokori ADP, World Vision. And then I got transferred, worked there for 2.5 years, then went to start a new program, a new World Vision program funded by Japan in Nakuru County, a place called Elementaita, Kiambogo location. I worked there for 2.5 years again, then got transferred to Korea. At the triangle where you meet Rift Valley, you meet Nyanza, south of Nyanza, and then Tanzania on the other side. Worked there for 3 years, then joined United States African Development Foundation. Worked there as a program coordinator. With World Vision, I worked as a development facilitator and again as a program manager for 8 years. As a program coordinator for USADF, worked there for 1.5 years, then joined county government as a chief officer for finance. Then I worked also as chief officer for planning, worked also as a chief officer for water, and also worked as a CEC for water, and also CEC for finance, for a span of more than 7 years. And in total, I have worked for more than 18 years. Now, I'm joining politics. I resigned on 8th of February this year to join politics.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Joseph. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good evening to you all. And I want to thank the organizers of this event for work well done and for inviting us for this particular discussion. My name is Moses Eros. I am from Turkana Central, Kalokol originally. I am vying for the Turkana Central member of the National Assembly. I am currently pursuing a master's degree in the US. I have an undergraduate degree from Daystar University, where I studied education and development studies. I have pursued trainings in senior management and strategic development from the Kenya School of Government. I have also pursued other trainings in management in institutions outside this country. I have studied a management training in the UK. I have studied management and administrative training in the US. I have studied administration and management training in Israel. And I've also studied briefly in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai in particular. In terms of work experience, I have been in public service for the last 24 years. I have served for 18 years as a high school principal. I have served as a teacher and a principal at AIC Kangitich in Lokori, where I sat for 8 years. I taught at the Lodo High School for 1 year, and I moved and taught and was a principal, and actually a senior principal by the time I left at Moi High School, Kalokol in 2013. In 2013, I joined the Turkana County government, where I served for 6 years from 2013 to 2019 as one of the first commissioners serving with the Public Service Commission in Turkana. I'm currently in the race for the Turkana Central parliamentary seat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Now we want to go to the audience. I hope you've known Turkana Central aspirants. Microphone. I have some issues that I want the public to tell us. Turkana Central is your constituency. Question number 1, are you satisfied with the services rendered in the 5 years? That is question number 1. Question number 2, what are the critical issues affecting Turkana Central that you want our dear candidates to address? 2 questions. Raise your hand so that we can get a mic for you. Are you satisfied with the services rendered in the 5 years? Either a yes or a no. What are some of the issues, critical issues affecting Turkana Central that you want to be addressed in the 5 years? I hope our candidates have notebooks for recording. Simama tu hapo.
The first question from Kanamkemer Ward, Turkana Central Constituency. 1, about the first question, I'm not satisfied. Reason is one, the issues to be addressed that in the next 5 years. One is about water. Water as a major problem in Turkana Central, whereby we have an aquifer just here in Turkana Central. It is found in Turkana Central. And up to date, for the last 10 years, up to date, the issue of water, even in the nearest village, it has not been addressed. The second is about education. Education. I have been seeing as an example of a student, of one of the students affected for the last 10 years. When I was in a school in 2013, 2012-2013, I have noticed the issue of CDF as a major problem, whereby the students who are vulnerable, who are supposed to get these funds, are not benefiting. So I will wish the aspirants present here today to tell us how the issues of water will be addressed here, and the issue of security, especially urban centers, issues of security, water, and education. Thank you very much.
Next person. Nakuja. Kuja hapa mwalimu, please.
Yeah, asante. Kwa majina naitwa Brizan na natoka Kalokol Ward. Swali la kwanza linauliza kama niko satisfied na current leadership ya 5. Nitasema ya kwamba yes, but again the question is una compare na nini? Are you looking at it from a political angle, or are you comparing Turkana Central with other wards? So for me the first question is yes. The real internet issues we would like to hear from able leaders here is the issue of water, and how innovative are they going to be with water issue. Number 2, Turkana Central has only one tarmac road, the whole of the constituency, ambayo tina toka to Kalokol. What are they going to make sure ya kwamba areas like Kapua, because this is a national government responsibility, how are they going to ensure ya kwamba our pastoral communities from Kerio, Kangatosa, Kapua wamepata access ya hizi barabara ndio waweze kufikia market, waweze kufikia services. Thank you so much.
Kuja mbele, please. Let me get him then. You next, eh? So those are 3. We are having 2 more, then tuna switch kwa hawa mabazu.
Thank you. My name is Aligo Isaac, and I'm a resident of Kerio Delta Ward. I'm going to respond to the question that I was asked. Are you satisfied with the sources that has been rendered in the past 5 years? Yeah, to me, it will be a kind of yes or no. So it will be in between. My first question is, or what I would like our incoming MPs to cater for Central. What plans do you have in order to cater the agenda of livelihoods among the residents of Turkana Central? As we know that the kind of challenge we have now is the living standards. Not all people are able to give something or to take something to the mouth. And we know Turkana Central is rich in terms of soil. If I compare where I come from, Kerio, Kerio is fertile. Kerio is fertile all the way from Lotoketeongol to Nakichochok. We can get food from the soil. So what plans do we have in order to secure food? The other thing, if I had on top of my brother from Kalokol, Kerio, or raise the 3K, that is Kerio, Kangatoda, and Kalokol. We depend on the lake. So if you go to Kerio, people that lives along the lake zone, they don't have access to those places. There is a barrier which is like River Kerio. What plans do you have in order to make that market link and make that livelihood all? Thank you.
Good evening, all. My names are Alice Ebei Longor. I'm from Kanam Kemere Ward. I fought in Kanam Kemere Primary School. The question was, the 5 years that passed was good. How was it? You know, sometimes I can forget. The Burudia Yoswa, Daktari. Are you satisfied with the services? Yeah. The question is that, am I satisfied with the past leadership of the Member of Parliament? My answer is yes. And my question to my Member of Parliament who are seated before us is that I've heard people talking of livelihood, water, but they have forgotten something to ask you guys. Despite that, you will pay school fees for some guys, for students, from secondary level to university level. How will you make sure that the students that have qualified to get a job, they have got a job? Because I know in our community, the only farm we have is education. As a Member of Parliament, I know it is not only the national job that you are going to connect the qualified Turkana students. How will you engage to non-governmental organizations to make sure Turkana people are being employed in Kenya and internationally? Because we are not restricted to Kenya alone. Question: how are you going to eradicate this poverty among youth, always following you for something to put in their mouths? How are you going to help them to make sure they are not following you every day? Those are my questions.
Start.
Hello.
Don't worry, your questions will be answered.
My name is Emmanuel Ekwong, aka Manu. I think the first question, yes, I can tell whoever was running the constituency has done exemplary well. Number two, I think the main concern for Turkana Central is water, as earlier been mentioned by one of the audiences. But again, water does not fall under the function of Member of Parliament. I think CDF, it is about CDF and what? And education. So whoever fixes the issue of water, carries the day. But it does not fall under the Member of Parliament. Asante.
That is the final bit so that we go to the real debate.
Thank you. Members of Parliament and the audience, a very good evening. My name is Chom Simon. I am a resident of Turkana Central, and to be very precise, I come from Kerio Delta. To answer the first question on are you satisfied with the first leadership, with the leadership of the past 5 years for CDF? Ain't that the question that was asked? Yes, to a good extent we are satisfied, considering that a leadership that is, faced with myriad of challenges may not actually implement every aspect of development as per the wish of the people. But looking at what Lodepe has actually brought Turkana Central since the devolution came in, it is quite considerable, and it begs another question of what is this the next member of parliament can do differently? What is this that the next member of parliament will do differently in order to make Turkana Central a better place? Actually, this aspiration has come as a test both to our intelligence as members of parliament who are looking for these seats, and to also test the capacity at which you can be able to deliver to some of the promises that you hope to propagate. People have mentioned challenges on water. There are other challenges around education. There are challenges, around healthcare. To me, what matters is what is this in terms of frameworks different that you can be able to do? What is this in terms of strategy different that you can be able to do? How do you make prudent use of the resources that you will be given by the NGCDF in order to propel the lives of Turkana Central residents forward? Another question before I take my leave. There are these schools that were, of course, initiated by the previous member of parliament. A school like Nakrio Secondary School, a school like Lorengelu Secondary School. We have schools like Loyo Secondary Schools. These are schools that were begun very recently. What plans do you have? Do you intend to continue the infrastructural development that was begun by the predecessor, or you will draw them with the towel and do things by yourself and according to how you would imagine things will be? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now back to our candidates. How well do you know Turkana Central? Let's start from Moses. How well do you know Turkana Central? How many wards do we have? What is the population, and how many registered voters?
Thank you, Dr. Okay.
You are too audible. Can we let our candidate respond to the question? Polepole tafadhali. Naomba kama pia unaweza jaribu kueleza kwa Kiswahili ama Kiturkana, wale wanaotuona kutoka kule wanaweza shukuru.
Okay. Kama Kiswahili ni sawa, naweza kuongea kwa Kiswahili pia. Turkana Central has 5 wards. We have Kanamkemer ward, we have Township, we have Kalokol ward, we have Kangatosa, and Kerio. registered voters for Turkana Central, we have about 57. I may not be very exact. On the population for Turkana Central, I don't want to give a wrong figure. I may not be exact on that one. But Turkana Central carries a big portion of the Turkana County population. That's a bit from your question.
Very well, very well.
I want to raise my case. Thank you.
Very well.
We have Kanam Kemer where we are. We have Kerio, Kanatoda, Kalokol, and Lodo Township. Our population currently, as per the 2019 census, is almost 966.
The population for Turkana Central.
So that is in total for Turkana County. But now when you come to Turkana Central, which carries a bigger chunk of it, it comes to around 300,000 plus. So that is the approximate figure that I can be able to provide. But we have, which is my focus as at now, is on the number of voters. Currently we have 52,971 voters confirmed and gazetted for Turkana Central.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, Madam Joyce.
I really don't know whether to repeat the same things my colleagues have said.
If you concur with them,
Because,
don't need to repeat.
I think I concur, but the number of voters, I think, is around 55,000 registered voters.
Very well. Dr. Abok.
Thank you very much for the question. I think this question, I found it surprising. But anyway, let me put it that the most important in this question is where is Central starting from? It starts from Lodoketeyongol to around Loropio, Kalotumkol, that direction. And it goes from just Kanam Kemer, from Nakwamekwi just before Nadapal to around Mugur. I think for me that is more critical looking at the vast distances. The populations, the adjusted populations for Turkana should be about 1.2 now, because adjusted yearly according to expectancies and live births and deaths. So putting Turkana Central at about 300 to 400, and total voters at about 54,000. Thank you very much.
Yes, Peter.
Thank you, Daktari. Turkana Central has 5 wards. The exact confirmed figures for voters is 55,000. I think it's circulated all over. The population for Turkana Central, I concur with Joseph Namwar, around 300,000. Yeah.
Very well. Let's now go to our second question. We start with you, Peter. Tell us, if elected now, in your first 100 days, what are the 5 critical issues that you'll do to Turkana Central? Hope it will take you 5 minutes. 5 critical issues in summary.
Actually, I have 10.
I want 5 critical issues that you want to do to Turkana Central.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Daktari. I want to appreciate actually this sitting and the gathering. And I've just seen somebody asking which party, because everybody has said it's party. I belong to Democratic Congress, affiliate to Jubilee. 5 things. If there will be many, don't worry. I have 5 minutes. First will be in education, because Turkana Central is lacking behind in education. It has lost its former glory, and all of you can agree to that. So the first thing after I'm sworn in is to have a meeting with the sub-county educational officers, then heads of institutions. The idea is simply to get where the gaps are and why are we not doing it the way Central used to be. For education, once I get that, I meet the Ministry of Education
and the partners in education. That has to be fixed within the first 100 days. Fishing and livelihoods. First 100 days. I have in my plan, first, to make sure, of course I'm from Kalkol, I have to admit that, to make sure the fishermen and women who are dealing with businessing, taking fish to down country. First 100 days, I'm going to visit Kisumu with my counterpart, Busia with my counterpart, to make sure the market there is expanded, because it's not just enough to bring fish to Lodwar. I suppose you agree with me. You have to extend the markets in Kisumu, markets in Busia, markets in Kitale, markets in Nairobi. I've tried this in Nairobi. I know some of the boys now taking some fresh fish there. So, but that is minimal. It now has to be commercialized. I have to fix that within the first 100 days. In the same fishing, we have fishermen who are being caught within Lake Turkana and are taken to Marsabit. I'm getting my counterpart.
3 minutes remaining.
It's okay, that's my time. I'm getting my counterparts, and never shall they be again taken to Marsabit. We will fix it with KWS. On food security, we are still there. Ministry of Agriculture, I'm meeting the guys in the CS in Ministry of Agriculture, because all of us know it's not just about Takwel, but we have 2 rivers here. We have River Takwel, we have River Kerio. So the ministry, with the county government, I have to see their officers and make sure we discuss the gaps that are there and that needs to be fixed. On health, we know as it is now, health is a shared function. Even water, water is a shared function. So as a member of parliament, I have to make to it that I meet the ministry and the government, the county government staff, to make sure whatever needs to be done is done both in policy and is done both in practice, meeting the partners in health, including the WASH. The first 100 days, we also have to make sure, I will have to make sure I'm meeting also the CS of sports, ICT, and arts. Because we cannot have youth all over singing, doing all these things in Turkana, and they cannot go beyond here. So that has to be fixed. The CS for ICT had visited Loropio. Why can't we replicate it? Or what is he doing to make sure such as centers are encouraged? These are simple things, just walking across the tarmac and get the minister and find what has to be done and has to be done correctly. Water, irrigation, CS as well. I will have to make sure I've met the water minister, because there was equalization funds. The water to Kalkol is stuck somewhere. Water to areas like Akatuman, which have salty water, areas to, all the way up to beyond Kerio, which cannot access water, and yet there is water, there is equalization funds, there is funds with our partners, there is funds with the county government. As an MP, I have to visit them.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks.
Let's go to Roberts. 5 critical issues.
Thank you very much. I actually have 5 critical issues that I will handle within the first 100 days. And if difficult for the first 100 days, it might just be 200 days. My first priority has been, in my manifesto, has been water, water, water. I was actually a bit surprised that there are those of us who think that water is actually solely a function of the county. Water is a shared function, and an MP at a higher level has a big role to play in ensuring that water, safe water, is made available to the people of Turkana Central. Water is actually a human rights issue. Safe water is a human rights issue. So it's not an issue that you can actually jettison by the side and think that we can just ignore it. So my first 100 days on water, we have a big aquifer in Lodwar, in Napuru. It is amazing that we have a lake in Napuru underneath us, and the villages in Nakwatir, in Narewa, where I even stay, in Kanam Kemer, in Kanan, most of Nakwamekwi, even Kerio, are actually thirsty. The animals are thirsty. For me, my thinking would be to stop this business of dry boreholes. I think since we have an aquifer here, like Nairobi, we take its water from the Aberdairs 150 kilometers away. For me, I think priority will be to ensure that safe water reaches the people of Lodwar, all households. It is amazing that people in Canaan currently pay for water like you pay for fuel, like you pay for petrol, like you pay for paraffin. For me, it is a low-hanging fruit that you should just pick and make sure you have water going to Canaan and all the villages. Lay the groundwork. It is possible to take water to Kerio. It is not that Kerio should take water from Nangolekruk 50 kilometers away. We can actually take water to as far as 150 kilometers away, to Kalokol, from Lodwar and from this aquifer. The challenge will be to work with the national level, to work with the county level to ensure that safe water is available. And as a role of the MP, it is actually to oversee and to advocate and to make sure that partnerships are in place to make sure safe water, which is a human right, is available for the people of Turkana Central.
You have 2 minutes to wrap up.
Second is food security. I think I still have 4 minutes. Food security is the other issue, and improved livelihoods. I think this is, without saying, a critical area. The aquifer in Napu can actually be used to make sure that the irrigation scheme in Napu is there. It is an injustice for 10 years that the water and the irrigation scheme in Napu, Kakwanyang are not producing even a bag of maize. That for me is a priority, that we should have maize produced from Napu, maize produced from Kakwanyang, and food security and improved livelihoods is a critical pillar. The other one is education and youth empowerment. It goes without saying that education is a critical pillar. I will go for quality education. When Lodo High School, a high school that was in my year that had 2 A-minuses, when Kabarak had 2 A-minuses. Now Kabarak has 59 A's and 190 A-minuses or so. Lodo High School should be at that level. We've been focusing on poor, shoddily done infrastructure and forgetting about quality. The other thing is my pet, UHC. I initiated UHC when I was here and initiated the roadmap for Turkana. And I think the roadmap was also stolen by Nairobi. And I think in Nairobi, I am actually, as a low-hanging fruit, will go push for UHC so that those who are vulnerable, those who are very poor, who actually can be made very poor by any medical bill. It is amazing that if you are to end up in ICU now, you'll be very poor and be pushed to extreme poverty. For me, pushing UHC and making sure that people don't pay for services is one of my priorities. The other one is infrastructure. I want to make sure that there's a bridge connecting Kangatosa and Kerio, probably around Nangolekruk, around Kangatosa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Secretary, looking at the mandate of, is that audible enough? Looking at the mandate of a member of parliament, I do not want to flatter the people sitting here saying I'll do this and this and this, because even the equalization fund has taken years. It has not been disbursed. The millions that were supposed to come and help. Those are the monies that the MPs would have used for the water projects. However, as a member of parliament and having the role of oversight, advocacy, and pushing, I think water is a priority in Turkana. It is a priority even in these urban centers. It's a pity that parts of Lodwar now are not able to get water. So I know it is a devolved function, but if I get a county government that is agreeable with me, that I can approach and get whatever I want, it's easy for the member of parliament to liaise with the county government. And I think that's one of the things I'll do, work closely with the county government in identifying the areas that really need the water commodity. Also do mobilization of resources with partners like UNICEF, like World Bank, the other partners that are here, the non-state actors that will be able to participate in the provision of water that we can work with. But my favorite is education. And answering one of the questions, what will I do differently in education, is to improve the existing infrastructure. I'm not going to build new schools unless children are trekking kilometers, 4 kilometers to get to a school. I want to improve the existing infrastructure so that I improve the performance. Dr. has just talked of poor performance in Lodo High School and many other high schools. We need to put libraries in place, laboratories, teachers' houses, other utilities, security fences. That's what I'll go for in education. I will also create a database for bursaries so that we don't have children getting same children getting bursaries from all the bursary providers. We have the same kids getting bursaries from county, from the MCA, from Equity Bank, from cooperative, women rep. We can afford a database that will identify a child who has applied twice or even gotten bursary twice. So in terms of education, those two will be, in the first 100 days, I will do an assessment in all the education institutions so that I can undertake those two. I will have to do legislation because that is one of my key responsibilities. Legislation on prompt disbursement of the equalization fund, because that regulation was done, but I think in terms of promptness and ensuring that it has reached counties, that has not been done. So I'll also look at the legislation that will really help. The other thing I'll do is look at the minorities. Turkana Central is hosting many people, not just Turkanas. We have Kikuyus, we have Somalis, we have Merus, we have Luyas, we have all these communities residing, especially in Lodwar, which is the most populous town in Turkana. I will, in my 100 days, ensure that these minorities, because in those 100 days, that's when I'll be forming my committees. The Kera committee, the CDF committee, different committees, even influencing committees in the county and other national bodies. Ensure that these minorities and the people living with disabilities are factored in those committees. It is one of the things that I'll do.
1 minute to go.
We have talked of food security. We need to do a serious assessment of areas and looking at the various occupations, looking at the agro-pastoralists, the fisher folk, the pastoralists themselves, and the business community. There is a way we can enrich what is already on the ground. I know there are farms in places like Nawaros, there are farms in Nadoto, there are farms, there are irrigation farms alongside this river here.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
I think we'll also enter
Thank you,
into
Mheshimiwa.
that. Thanks.
Yes, Joseph?
Thank you so much. Good question, Dr. Logiron. Before I resigned from county government as Minister for Finance and Economic Planning, I did a lot of reflection and discernment so that I can be able to give a good scorecard for me at the end of the 5-year tenure, and the people of Turkana Central will be able to sit down with me and say, can you still continue or not? And the first thing that I did in my reflection and discernment is to see if I can come up with 5-point agenda for Turkana Central. And my 5-point agenda number 1 is on self-reliance. This has never been tried. It is my point of departure where everything will roll up, because we will be able to build schools. We will be able to build hospitals and dispensaries. We will be able to build universities. But we will not eat those universities or schools or dispensaries. At the end of the day, someone should be able to sit down and see what he was able to collect during the day. And that is what we call an increase of income at the household level. And in my first point agenda, I have been able to say I need 25 million. 5 million for each ward. And we have been having groups called Kinyamarai. We have been having groups called Kitanangai. We have been having groups called Kidokarai. These are groups that are communally established, and we have women who form a big chunk of it. And these women are very much enterprising. Some are even doing table banking, which is a good concept. And they need funds. 25 million will be a startup capital where we'll be able to see how we can disperse to groups. Number two, we are looking at scholarships for rare skills. Yes, the issue of forming a database will be critical, but I'm looking at primary school teachers. We are losing out as one of the rare skills in that field. We are saying the head teachers, the Turkana head teachers are aging. The deputy principals are also aging. And in the long run, in a year, we receive not more than 15 teachers. There is the rate of attrition is also present. The rate at which we are receiving external transfers is also high. So what happens? This year, we received only 7 admissions to teacher training colleges. We have 7 sub-counties, which means if Turkana Central takes 2, there is a sub-county that is likely to miss out. 7 is very, very low, and we need teachers at our primary schools. That is one of my rare skills. We will disburse bursaries with lots of inclusivity. We will disburse bursaries without leaving anyone behind. That is number 2. Number 3 is on school infrastructure and equipment. We don't have good equipped labs in our secondary schools. I will use the example of Nakurio Primary School, Secondary School, Nakurio Girls Secondary School. They are doing KCSE for the 4th term. They don't have a lab. The school doesn't have a fence. I'm using that as an example. Teachers don't have quarters, staff quarters. Those are the things we'll deal with. I concur with Mama Joyce. We will not be able to add any other school. It is good if we improve the existing. That is on education. My number 4 is on UHC, Universal Health Coverage. We have our aging population, above 60 years. Some are prone to prostate cancer. We have cancer of the uterus. And this is the age when this is becoming very, very rampant, and it comes closer to them. But what we want to do is to issue cards that can be able to target this age, so that when they get to the hospital, they can be able to get services adequately. My number 5, very quickly, is promotion of the investment climate, security and partnerships. This is loaded, and I call it an enabler of all the rest. An enabler because we need security in this town or in this municipality. We need it also in Kalokol, where we have our investors. It is very critical for me to ensure that partnerships are created, promoted, and enhanced. And therefore, when we talk about water, I agree with most of you that water is critical. And therefore, partnerships are critical for us to ensure that we have resources. When we talk about aquifer here in a pool, try to correlate it with the resources that are required. We need bigger pipes. We need our sewerage in this town to separate the sewer from water. We need a lot of money. And when we talk about CDF...
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Joseph.
1 minute, please.
Thank you. Let's proceed. It was 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope the timing will actually be uniform for all the members across the board. Mheshimiwa Joyce just mentioned something I wanted to say, that the MP's role could be limited in one way or the other in terms of some of the things they may want to implement. But some of the problems we've encountered in this county has been that those in the national government, maybe the members of the National Assembly, have had to be in total fighting or a total coalition with those managing the county government, to the extent that some of the services, some of the support or the finances that would otherwise come from the national government to help in some of the services that we provided here wouldn't be provided because there was total fighting and all that. And so I want to begin by mentioning something on education. CDF has been mentioned, and the disbursement of CDF funding is an issue because the timing, the students go to colleges, go to schools late, or they go to colleges without money. I want to believe that CDF is a government provision, and those managing the CDF accounts should be proactive, should be thinking ahead of time in terms of the timetables for colleges and schools, so that students are able to get the funding or the checks or the payments for their CDF allocation in good time. I mean, there are many students who keep going to school back and forth. Why? Because they have gone to school without money, and the schools wait and can't get the money, and the students have to be sent back home. And they wait, they go back with a letter, they come back, they don't sit for their exams. I want to deal with this. Well, fortunately, I have been in the education system. I have been a senior principal, and I know what that means in terms of students being in school without money. And so I want to work on something about the funding with CDF. We have CDF, we have the county bursary allocation. We also have partners who are doing one or two things in terms of sponsoring kids. We have the churches like the Diocese of Lodwar. We have other partners.
3 minutes.
And so we want to be able to streamline the CDF funding in terms of trying to coordinate and harmonize all these areas where funding is coming from, so that we can be able to have a software that can be able to identify all the kids from Turkana Central, those applying for the CDF funds, and the same students who are applying for funding from the Turkana County bursary kitty, and those who are also looking for funding from other places. So once we have a software that can be able to locate these students, then we can be able to harmonize and see that we have students who can get supported without having to have students who suffer, and we have students who are getting a lot of money. We have cases of checks that are all over in colleges for students who have more money than they require. Something is being mentioned about water. Water. Water is a county function, but it is shared. And so the member of parliament has a role to be able to coordinate between the county government and the national government in trying to get support where money or funds can be provided to help in the areas where there is a shortage of water. There is a problem with water which is chronic in Kalokol, in Kerio, in Kapua, and those kind of places. Those are some of the areas I would wish to address. Number 3, for all of us who study the cycle of famine in Turkana, every time we talk of famine, we cannot be able to miss to see Kapua in the list of the areas affected. We have Kerio as areas affected in terms of things to do with famine and lack of food, people dying because of lack of food. We would want to be able to see what we can be able to do in terms of food security. And those are some of the very critical areas that we want to address as Turkana. Lastly, there's this section about education and staffing in particular. Of course, standards have been mentioned. My colleagues have talked about the falling standards of education. Teaching and teaching staff, the numbers is so low. But Teacher Service Commission, and as a principal, I know there is a way in which Teacher Service Commission allocates teachers. They use a system called the curriculum-based establishment. That is how a TSC calculates how many teachers are required in this or the other school. And so this is one of the key areas I'm going to address the TSC, so that teachers that are needed in a given school, given the curriculum-based establishment for that school, is provided as given.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, before we go for a commercial break and I give the plenary time to ask questions, I would wish to give Peter Lokoel a chance to answer this question from my side so that we later go to the plenary. You've mentioned that you'll take care of education through stakeholders engagement. You'll take care of the livelihoods, food security in terms of agriculture, health, youth, sports, and water. I want to pick one issue from what you mentioned in the 5 things. You come from Kalokol Ward. There is a white elephant in Kalokol Ward called Kalokol Fish Factory. What have you done in your capacity as a resident of Kalokol? 1. 2, what did you do while in the county government, of which I was privileged to work with you, to salvage the situation? What can you consider as an indelible mark in that factory that given a chance, you will do something about Kalokol factory? Thank you.
Thanks, Daktari. I think, all right, let me answer Daktari. I want to respond to that. Just a quick one before I respond. I thought you asked, before you asked us about the first 100 days. Because what I saw was like, well, now people are spelling their manifestos in the first 100 days. Sorry. Kalokol. You will not have to worry about that. What I did when I was a deputy governor, what I've done as a resident of, I'm just reiterating your question first. What I did as a deputy governor, what I've done as a resident, and what is that mark that you think, I think if it is fixed, then we are good to go. Am I right? Yes. Good, thanks. You would want to know this. I happen to have been privileged to work with the region government. Right from the time I left my Form 4, that time, don't worry, when was it? I joined them just as a student, and we did a survey all the way from Todonyang to Kerio. That survey is still in my laptop up to date. And so I have a connection with them, so for you just to know. Then what did I do when I was a deputy governor? We've had communications with the Norwegian government, actually through the embassy. And they came here, and my governor, though he's not here, met them on the same, and we discussed with them, if they were to come back, how will they do it? And they said, we will not do it the 1984 way. It will change because dynamics have changed. So we started that engagement, and I'm sure it is somewhere in the archives of the county government, though, because I left after that. But the engagement with the county government, I mean, between the county government and the embassy, the Norwegian embassy, is still there. Initiated by me, given the connections I had. Actually, I took the first guy who ever came here there with the Norwegian government, somebody, we called him Scorpion. I took him back to Nataba to see their first station. And in that connection, I connected them with Mr. Malala, in charge of research, Kalokol. So there was something when I was in the office that was initiated. As a member of Kalokol, I did it both as an official, but also as a son of that land. Because to me, when I was growing, I knew and I know what that meant to a fisherman, both from all the way from Todonyang and to the last store in Kerio. Okay, now Yopnetebu, as they called it. As a person then, what have I done? I'm actually a member. I registered as a member. The current, when the county government started, wanted to introduce, to kind of bring up the factory again. I registered just to make sure we give way, and the older men and women will see like, oh, this is something good, if they see their sons and daughters in that. Me and the former CZ, Chris Eporon, we registered as members. So as we are talking, when I was out of the office, I still went back there because I stayed in Nairobi for some time. They are still willing to work with Turkana County government. And if I become the member of parliament, then they have a link they know, a link they trust, and a link they can deliver through. What do we need to do? Definitely, whatever is in the county government is the issues of the cooperatives, the issues of, the trade and industrialization, industrialization. It is a core-shared function. I tried talking to Mr. Lokwale one time. I hope he's here. If he's not here, he will still confirm. And he said, there's a bit of that function that is a bit stuck at national government, that is making it difficult for the county government to move ahead. And that is the bit I want to come and start from, because I've been in touch with the county government, people in charge of trade and cooperatives, and I know where that bit is. It is the willingness or the will of the politician in Turkana Central to go to that office and work it out, as Joyce was saying, working with the county government and linking it with the national government. That is the link, which is me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Maybe some additional information. The factory in Kalokol is very critical for our development, and especially for the fisher folks in Turkana Central. And it is not something that we just need to discuss it lightly. One thing that we need to know in the Norwegian government, the factory or whatever the Norwegians did in Kalokol, when you study, when I was doing my master's in project management, it is one of their projects they say was a failure, if you study. And they may not be able to even invest a coin in that factory. And number two, I want to tell you that the cooperative movement is what is derailing the development of the Kalokol fish factory. Unless we get it right, the laws, I don't know, the mandates, or even the regulations that govern the cooperatives in Kenya, especially for that factory, the Turkana Fishermen Cooperative Society, is in dire need of being amended. That is where we'll take off. I remember something that we've been able to forget. When you are the deputy governor, first we targeted the Turkana Fishermen Cooperative Society and Lomidat Abattoir. Lomidat Abattoir got 17 million. Turkana Fishermen Cooperative Society got 19 million as some seed capital. What happened is they went there and bought a lorry. The lorry, as I've told you, the cooperative thing in this Kenya can be a failure at some times. The lorry went get into personal business.
That time is up.
And
we still have
it
other
is very
issues.
critical for us to look at it from a different perspective. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for that, that clarification. I will not go to Abok. I'll start with you, Joseph. This is your question. You indicated that when elected as MP Turkana Central, you will ensure that there is self-reliance, scholarship for rare skills, UHC, education, promotion of investment. Have I forgotten anything? Did you mention anything about water? You did not. My question will be on water. You are formerly a chief officer water and a CEC finance. Tell this crowd, how will you reduce the politicalization of water in Lodwar? How will you reduce the cartels associated to the dead Lowasco? Finally, billionaires have encroached the famous aquifer. How do you intend to resuscitate the water issue by reducing encroachment of land in the aquifer? Thank you. You have your 5 minutes to respond to that.
Thank you so much, Daktari. Kwanza kabisa, ningependa kusema ni asante kwa ile kazi ambayo nilifanya nikiwa chief officer ama afisa mkuu wa maji. Kwanza ni mzuri kujua ya kwamba wakati kaunti ilianza tulikuwa na boreholes 511. 2017 tulikuwa na boreholes 1267. 2017, before we went to do the next CIDP. Number 2, maneno ya maji kweli ina siasa, na jinsi ambavyo umesema ya kwamba tunaweza kutoa siasa ndani ya maji kwa jinsi gani. Water can be both socio-economic and political good. And from the perspective of allocation of resources, we need to understand that when CRA allocates resources in their formula, I challenged the team that was doing the third gen CRA formula on resource allocation because water was not one of the components of consideration. And I asked them, water is a major enabler. But again, it was not picked up as a component of allocating resources. But we want to thank the national government. For the first time, we were able to get the highest allocation of 1.1 billion on equalization fund. And these funds in Turkana Central was allocated for the Elie Kalokol water project to about 67 million Kenyan shillings. And also we were supposed to take water from the aquifer to Loturere. We were also to establish and enhance or improve water access in Lodwar town. But when these funds were not disbursed, the contractors ran away, even Monty and Lokaparaparai. But all in all, water requires lots of resources, which requires partnerships, and that the national government down here. The aquifer we have, very quickly, has already been fenced or demarcated off. But what we need to understand, the aquifer here in Lodwar, the Napu aquifer, starts all the way from Naregai up to Chokochok. So if you are within that line, even Dr. Logiron, you are also within the aquifer. That's what you need to understand. So it starts all the way from Naregai up to Chokchok. But where we have been able to stay, for those who are millionaires, as Dr. calls them, we have been able, when I was in the ministry, we were able to talk with the community there, and we fenced off that part where we are establishing and collecting water. But again, when you get to Senegal, Dakar, actually, for your information, the aquifer in Dakar has already been polluted, and it is never used. Here in Lodwar, when we are studying the issues about the aquifer, we need to do a lot of care and protection, maybe use the biodigesters. so that we don't pollute the aquifer. And
Thank
I've
you.
mentioned to you the areas where we occupy.
Thank you, Joseph. Dr. Abok, you've mentioned that you'll take care of water, food security, education, youth, and education and youth empowerment, UHC, and infrastructure development. Were those the issues you mentioned? Thank you. I would wish to focus on universal health care. Is that UHC in full? Very well. We have the Lodwar County Referral Hospital. It's one of the old school hospital that each one of us ran or runs when he's sick. But when I was in county government, you were also the chief officer health. Please tell the people of Turkana Central an indelible mark that you've done to this hospital in terms of the mortuary services, customer care services, and ensuring that the health systems are functional. Then, if elected, how will you handle those issues, starting from corruption and ensuring that the universal health care is achieved in Turkana Central?
Thank you very much, Dr. Logiro, on this question. Very good question. The current thinking in Kenya is universal health coverage. Universal health coverage has three major aspects. Access, that you are able to provide facilities where people can get proximate services. Then you look at quality of services, and then of course the cost of healthcare. The critical determinant of access will actually be the cost, direct or indirect. Lodwar County Referral is one of our biggest facilities, and it is actually the one shouldering over 40% of the patients in Turkana, and contributes to almost the same indicators, almost half the indicators. Now, I want to tell you that health issues are actually 95% devolved, some of which will be policy, regulations, and level 6 are the ones that are at the national level. However, just to go into it, I have already, when working in Lodwar County Referral, I did in the 7 building blocks for health. Building blocks are infrastructure, financing, service delivery. Those are building blocks. One, I have strengthened partnerships. I managed, when I found Lodwar County Referral, had a maternity that was 2 rooms, 1 room actually, where mothers were delivering, were in labor at the same place. I managed to look for funds for Lodwar County Referral, totaling 18 million in the first part when I was the MedSoup. 18 million from the Save the Children. That is a strength, and I was able to make sure that mothers can deliver in a good way and in a clean environment. Secondly, when I joined UNICEF, I was able to mobilize about 100 million, including theater, for Lodwar County Referral Hospital and many other facilities. I'm looking at the infrastructure investment for Lodwar County Referral because it is the bane, for example, for healthcare delivery. I was able, you look at healthcare delivery, you look at all the building blocks, you look at, for example, health workforce. The investments there, for example, on quality. One of the things that I did was, when I came, I found that we had a debt for drugs that was going 249 days, 180 million, which I cleared, and made sure that in my time, there was no time when actually drugs in Lodwar County Referral will be lacking, especially the essential drugs. One of the things I did was to put a system. For the first time you went to Lodwar County Referral, and you had a system that was able to predict whether Panadol is over, or is getting over, or needs to be bought. And those are some of the things that I put: an IC system, and a point of care patient, and accept the wards. Secondly, I also did a lot of work to make sure that health workers was improved. For the first time, we had 16 consultants. We had a highly motivated workforce that had stagnated for 9 years, and 800 UHC is actually in the community health services. It will interest you to know, Dr. Logiron, that I drove the community health strategy and made sure that Turkana was the first county in Kenya to have a community health strategy that recognized level 1 as the starting point, and 80 health volunteers were in place linked with the health workforce. That is where, what you talk about quality of service. On mortuary, by the time I came, a lot of work had been done at the mortuary, and there was little investment that would be done in mortuary. It was well and okay. But I also did a lot of investment on the eye services that is actually the best in this country. It will interest you to know that Turkana, in my time, was the best consistently in Kenya, number 1 and number 2. Secondly, in the future, we are going to level 6. We need, and I have pushed this agenda with the ODM president, that we'll have a level 6 in Turkana that should be able to employ more than 500 health workers and 3,000 people of Turkana. For the benefit of the people here, a level 6 facility has a budget equivalent to a county of about 10 billion and can employ people equivalent to a county of about 3,000 to 4,000 people. This is one of the things that I'm going to push. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. At least you've utilized your 5 minutes. I start with Mwalimu so that I finish with Mheshimiwa Joyce. You had mentioned that you'll take care of education, the issue of checks, the timing is poor, you'll take care of water, food insecurity. What was the other issue? Staffing. Very well. Since you have a background of education, and I understand that you are formerly the head teacher, Kangitit Girls. Kangitit Girls has been dropping in terms of performance since. You want to replicate the same issue to Turkana Central, not replicating by dropping. How do you plan to ensure that schools in Turkana County, whether categorized as national schools, extra-county schools, or extra and county schools, perform as expected? Number 2, what did you do in your capacity as a commissioner in terms of staff management issues, since we had a record of casual staffs being in service for over 6 years? What do you think you can now do that you did not do that time that made the county staff to suffer for 6 years?
Okay, Daktari. Yes, I've been a senior principal, not a head teacher. Sorry about that. AIC Kangitit Girls, just for record, I left AIC Kangitit Girls in 2004. Follow or to track the performance of AIC Kangitit Girls. Would be able to confirm with me that the dropping of performance at AIC Kangitit Girls has been ever since I left AIC Kangitit Girls. That is something that can be confirmed in school, at the education offices.
Thank you for clarification.
Thanks so much. Now, in terms of the period of my performance of my service at the County Public Service Board, it is true, as you have mentioned, Daktari, about the casual workers. The casual workers in the Turkana County government is been a thorn in the flesh, or was a thorn in the flesh for quite some time. And as you correctly have put it, it was an issue with the County Public Service Board, given that the County Public Service Board has the mandate with the County Government Act to recruit and to handle, to manage the personnel within the county. But the county government, the County Service Board can't be able to apportion funding for staffing. The budgeting is not a process that the County Public Service Board plays. And the limit or the ceiling in terms of what the county government is supposed to expend is not something that the County Public Service Board is in control. And given the mechanisms of handling the county, the casual staff or the permanent staff within the county government, it is provided that the casual staff are given contracts for a given period of time. And that is one thing that we initiated. For the period we felt that the county government wasn't going to provide the funding to take in the casual staff on permanent basis. And so we gave that kind of advice that for the time being, then the casual workers or the casual staff should be put on regular contracting period so that once they complete, and then that should then be done in writing. But of course, we then went ahead to be able to provide that kind of advice to the county government that eventually they would need to be absorbed. But I can correctly say, Daktari, that by the time we left office in 2019, we had already been able to provide that kind of guidance, and action was taken given our direction and our advice that the casual staffing in the county government were absorbed eventually. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Now, finally, before we go for a commercial break, I would wish to ask Mheshimiwa Joyce, you had said that you'll take care of the issue of water, mobilization of resources, education, legislation, the issue of minority status, and food security. Did I capture your issues well? Very well. You are currently a representative in the county assembly. National Assembly, sorry. What is pushing you from the woman rep position to the MP position? Number one. Number two, what miracles do you think you can now do so that Turkana County will receive the equalization fund, yet you've been in the assembly for 10 years, doing oversight, representing, and legislation? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Daktari. I think I was expecting the first question. So it's not a surprise. Let me go to the equalization one, start with that, because I had already kind of mentioned something. The stumbling block that the equalization fund got stuck at the executive, at the treasury, and all efforts by the National Assembly, all the shouting has not borne any fruit. And as also you know that the National Assembly to some extent was held captive by the executive, given the status of the current government went kind of split, and not so much was happening at the National Assembly. However, I mentioned earlier that I think one of the things I'll push is legislation on prompt disbursement of the equalization fund. And you know that when the equalization fund came, initially it was to benefit around 13, 14 counties, arid counties. As we went on, other counties emerged. In a place like Keni, in Nyeri, we had other counties that were not initially categorized as ASAL, put in the list. And that kind of complicated things. And so far, even the legislation usually takes really long. I fought one of my pieces of legislations which was assented to by the president on the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development Amendment Bill. It took a lot, it took the whole parliament, 12th parliament, for me to get that done. So the process of legislation is really long, and there are many power plays that take place in parliament. Now, the first question which I was expecting is what's pushing me from women rep to member of parliament. There are two key reasons, and I want to start with one that is kind of global. We know the requirement of the 2/3 gender rule, where one gender is not supposed to surpass 2/3 in the parliament, and not really in parliament alone, but it is more pronounced in parliament. And we have fought in the last parliament, that's in the 11th parliament, we tried to bring in the issue of gender balance. How many women will be nominated to fill the gap like it is in the county assemblies? You know, in the county assemblies, if less women are elected, the law, the constitution allows that more women are nominated to the level they reach 1/3. But that is not catered for the National Assembly. And so it has taken a long time for Kenya to realize that constitutional provision, actually requirement. And finally, we are kind of agreeing, can it be progressive? That means women have to fight to get that 1/3 requirement. And so one reason why I'm fighting for this MP seat is to allow the position of a second elected woman in Turkana. Because I was alone among, say, 11 senior positions, elective positions in the county. I was the only woman MP, or woman elected person. So it is only me who has already been in parliament and who knows the gimmicks, who can fight it out with men. So I decided to make it easy for other women to go for the seat that is already theirs, so that I fight for women.
Thank you, thank you.
The second reason, is, of course, now I'm narrowed. With more resources, make more impact. The little resources were thinly spread across the county, and there wasn't much impact in terms of development. Thank you.
The rules were very, very clear. Do not clap. Wait for that D-Day. Thank you very much. We'll be going for a commercial break, 10 minutes break. When we come back, we will be taking questions from the audience. Thank you. This show is brought to you courtesy of Turkana University College, Opal Apartments, Sunbream, Sikika Foundation, and you can proceed for the commercial break. 10 minutes. Tutaongojea maswali yenu.
Tunataka kujua kama wasee lodo wanakula mkate. If people love bread. And the bread that I'm talking about ni gani? Ni Sunbream. Sunbream premium bread. Na leo, me and my crew, we've decided to take a surprise, an impromptu visit to the shops and to the households. Alafu baadaye tuende kwa ofisi ya Sunbream, tusikie hawa wa Sunbream wanasemaje. Umeget? But in the meantime, I'm in my house. I have my 800 grams. So nataka kujua, if those guys at the shop are selling to you this, na kama nyinyi mnaenda kutembelea shop. See you in a bit. Boom. Mambo.
Poa.
Niaje? Naitwa nani?
Naitwa Ruby Baraka Shop.
Ruby Baraka Shop.
Yeah.
Mimi ni mtu wa Sunbrim. Okay. Naitwa Dail.
Hivyo ni vizuri.
Uko poa?
Uko poa.
Safi. Sasa Ruby.
Yeah.
Mimi nimekuja hapa story ya mkate.
Yes.
Mbona unauza Sunbrim?
Nauza Sunbrim kwa sababu ni mzuri sana. Hata unapokula huwezi tamani kupaka blue band.
Haya, sasa na wale watu wenye wanakuja kununua Sunbrim hapa wanasemaje kuhusu Sunbrim?
Wanasema Sunbrim ni mkate soft sana, ni mkate safi sana.
Iko poa?
Iko poa kabisa.
Na wewe as a person venye watu wanakuambia ni mkate fiti na venye wewe unaiona, wewe unawezaje advice mtu mwenye hajai kula Sunbrim, utamwambia nini?
Na advice ya kuwa ajaribu kula Sunbrim, atapenda sana kuliko hizo zingine.
Zile zingine?
Yeah.
Na nauliza, kuna hii mkate ya 800 grams ile kubwa.
Yeah.
Unauza?
Yeah.
Watu wananunua?
Yes.
Ni hebu nipe. Lovely. Safi. Ume huko feti asante sana. Sisi tunajaribu kujua ni nini inaendelea.
Okay.
Ndio tujue wakuu wetu watuambie kama tunafanya kazi mzuri ama tufanye kazi mzuri. Mambo baba.
Mambo poa.
Majina?
James Akai.
James Akai.
Yeah.
Wewe ni
supplier wa Sunbrim.
Supplier. Kampuni kubwa.
Yes.
Mna supply mkate?
Tuna supply mkate.
Watu wanasemaje kuhusu Sunbrim?
Watu wanasema kampuni ni kubwa na imekuja juzi, imeovertake zingine yenye zilikuwa za kitambo.
Okay.
So mikate huwa tunapeleka mahali pote.
Yeah.
Kalokol, Kakuma, Salokcheri huwa tunafika.
Okay.
Sana hapa Lodwar. Hii kampuni imeongoza kwa sababu customer akihitaji mkate wakati wote huwa anapata kwa wakati saa hiyo.
Yaani mtu akihitaji on time analetewa
immediately.
Yes.
Alafu ma customers nayo pia huwa wanakula mikate ile fresh.
Okay.
Si atubali mikate yetu ile siku 2 ama 3.
Okay.
Ndio kwa sababu watu wanapenda.
Okay.
Kwa mimi kama supplier nimeenjoy kazi kulingana na product zetu ni safi. Pia inatujengea jina. So niko na sifa nzuri.
Kabisa. So unasema watu Turkana wanapenda Sunbrim.
Kila mahali ukitembea ni Sunbrim. Wanasema kama si tamu si Sunbrim.
Si Sunbrim. Asante sana.
Sasa inanipea morali pia nifanye kazi kwa hiyo kampuni.
Asante sana. Nashukuru. Na hayo tu. Tunajaribu kuangalia venye mnafanya kazi.
Tutaendelea kufanya.
Asante. Sasa tumepata shopkeeper, tumepata driver. Now we want to invade space yao ma directors na ma CEO wa Sunbrim. Tujue wanasemaje kuhusu mkate.
Karibu Dail.
Asante sana.
Ya Sunbrim.
Asante sana.
Karibu Sunbrim.
For those who don't know, boss wangu ndio huyu. Waambie kwanza majina ndio wakujue.
My name is Emma.
Emma ndio mwenye ananilipa mshahara kila mwezi. Now, Emma, si tumekuja hapa, we want people to know more about Sunbrim.
Now, our Sunbrim,
yes,
also known as Sun City Confectionery Limited, we are a confectionery company that started a while ago when Corona period was around. So when we started, we started with few products. We struggled a little bit, but later on we picked up because our company produces quality products. We've always strived to produce quality products for our company so that we can satisfy our customers.
Yes.
And every other person who tests or takes our products, we make sure that they get satisfied with the services we offer. With the quality of our products. We actually produce several products. Produce the 400 bread, 400 grams bread. We also produce the giant.
The giant one, the 800 grams.
This is the latest one, the latest product we launched after the 400 grams.
Okay.
Then we also have like a 200.
Which is Kamini.
We are also preparing to launch our Sunbrim Lala product. So this will be launched within, let's say, few months
to come.
Few months to come.
Wow.
This will be available in shops.
Now, mine is simple. How are your clients? My customers wenu wanasemaje kuhusu Sunbream? Feedback yenye unapata kwa customer.
Customers wetu, we've always got feedback from our customers because we usually value whatever comes outside. From outside. Yes. The customers, they usually we usually send our suppliers and our salespeople where they go outside. When they go outside to deliver these products, and then they are offering the services from this company to our clients, we make sure that they also get feedback from the services, them. How satisfied are they? How are our products? So that it helps us to improve our products. It also improves us to it helps us to improve the quality of our products to the satisfaction of every client out there.
Now, in case if I want to order for Sunbeam, how do I do it?
Usually we've given out the numbers. The numbers are always there on our breads, at the back of the bread. There's the packaging papers have always been, the numbers have been given at the back.
Okay.
I have my number is up. The company's number
is there.
We have two numbers. Either whenever you call either of the numbers, we will always direct our salespeople or our suppliers to your doorsteps.
Asante sana. So in case kama ni bulkness, munaweza produce any amount you
at the moment.
At the order, in mfano, if I want to have a bigger order, should I call for a bigger order or a small order?
No, at the moment you can produce. We have the capacity to produce a big order.
Wow.
Yeah. At the big, yes, we have. We can produce as much as the client wants.
Okay.
Depending on the orders as they come in.
Asante sana. That's why wanasema kama si tamu.
Kama si tamu, si Sunbream.
Hello.
Turkana University was established in 2017. It is a constituent college of Masinde Muliro University. Turkana University has 3 schools. We have the School of Business and Economics, we have the School of Education and Social Sciences, and we have the School of Science. Turkana University admits, and we have the self-sponsored program. Within our self-sponsored program, we have the students from South Sudan, who are the refugees and sponsored by Windle Trust. And the other students are from within Turkana County. A good number of them work with Turkana County government. So those are our major clients. A good number of the students we've got is from Southern Sudan. But from our marketing, we've marketed across, and we are expecting students from Ethiopia, Sudan, and Uganda. you should join Turkana University. Turkana University offers the programs that you need. We are market-oriented. We offer what is required in the market. Agriculture, science and technology, mathematics. We carry out CBC programs. We offer short courses that are offered at the school, Kenya School of Government. This is where you can get what you want. You need it, we have it here at Turkana University. Turkana University is the cradle of knowledge. Welcome to Turkana University.
We are about to start our debate again. Honorable Joyce amesha report. Karibu sana mama. Ladies and gentlemen, please. Order, 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 order. Ladies and gentlemen, tafadhalini. Ladies and gentlemen, tafadhalini. Tunaomba mtulie. We are about to start our debate again. I will get your seat, take your seat. Yes, Daktari Abok, karibu tena. Mama Joyce, karibu tena. Ladies and gentlemen, please, tunaomba mtulie. Honorable Moses Eros, karibu tena. Thank you so much for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, tafadhalini. Tunaomba utulivu, tunaomba utulivu. Karibu tena Honorable Peter. Honorable Peter Lokoel, karibu sana, our former DG and aspiring candidate for Turkana Central MP. Ladies and gentlemen, naomba mtulie tafadhali. We are about to start. We are about to start na leo tuko hapa mpaka kieleweke. Watu watulie, then we are starting again. Questions from the public. Watu watulie mazee. As we are waiting for Honorable Namwar and our moderator, Dr. Tioko Augustine Logiron, naomba utulivu, naomba tutulie. We are about to start. We are about to start again. Naomba tafadhalini. Ladies and gentlemen, tunaomba mutulie. Tunaomba mutulie. We are about to start again. Honorable Joseph Omathe Namwar, karibu tena. And to those at home or any person mwenye ako either deaf ama ski, we have one of our brother mwenye anafanya sign language. Naomba tafadhali mutulie, na waomba mutulie. We are about to start, and today is very historical. This is the first time we are doing a debate. Na ando wale wakuu wenye waliitikia mwito. Ladies and gentlemen, tafadhalini. Hello. Tutulie, 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 tutulie. Tutulie, tutulie. We are about to start. Na tunaanza na maswali from the public. So weka maswali yako tayari. We don't want to waste time. We're giving you a minute to ask your question. And your question has to be mature. Hatutaki watu wakuja hapa ulize maswali yenye haina kichwa na haina mkia. We are here to know our leaders. So uliza maswali kulingana na uzuri na shida ya Turkana Central. We don't want to go personal. We have to respect each and every person mwenye ako hapa, na especially our leaders. Sababu watu wamekuja hapa sababu yenu. Nobody forced them. They decided to come on their will to make sure they sell their agenda to you. So ladies and gentlemen, mimi naomba tutulie tafadhali. Hello, tutulieni tafadhali. Tutulieni. Our moderator, one and only Daktari Augustine Tiokolo Giron, the 31st PhD holder in Turkana. And thank you so much kwa wale wamekuja. We have to take this opportunity kushukuru sana our leaders, to make sure they've come here for you. It's all about you. It's not about these guys, it's about you. Na ni nyinyi ndio mnaenda kuvotia hawa watu. Nyinyi ndio employers. Nyinyi ndio mnachora hawa watu job. It is high time we are seeing Turkana, things are changing. This is the 4th debate in Kenya. We've done it twice. For those who were online yesterday, there was a debate going on in Kakamega. We did the one for MCAs, we only got 2. The other ones didn't show up. We called for Kanam, nobody showed up. Hii story yenye tunapigananga ma WhatsApp, ikifika December, mnaanza kucast the same people you elected. Msema wewe jamaa hakuwa hivi na hivi na hivi na hivi, hapana. It's all about you. Ni nyinyi venye mtapatia jamaa job. The moment mtaamua kama ni one of them amekuwa, hii debate ni witness. So you ask your question, a mature question yenye unajua ina touch community, ina touch society yetu, feelings. Ilienda na corona. Me, I'm that guy who is very much unapologetic. Very much. Now I am here kwa sababu there is a lot going on in Turkana Central. Turkana Central, the capital city of Turkana. In the next few years, Turkana is going to be the backbone economy of Kenya. Kenya the big brother Eastern Central Africa. So you can imagine if you don't elect the right leaders now, tusipige nduru baadaye. For those short, at least mmenyamaza, asanteni. We are starting questions.
Thank you very much. Now we are heading to the plenary session. Tunataka maswali yenu. Tulisoma sheria tukasema hatupigi makofi. Ongojea tarehe 9 upige makofi. Shukran our candidates. We now want to give this opportunity to your employers so that they can ask you questions. Tell us your name, your ward, what issue you want to be handled, and specify. Say, Peter Lokoel, I have a question for you based on the agenda you told us. Ulituambia hii na hii na hii, utafanya aje? Si nimepeana leakage? Siko sawa? 10 fast questions. 10. Be brief na usirudie kenye mtu ashasema. Mike. Thank you. You have 1 minute. Thank you, honorables, for coming for this interview. I'm McDonald, Eros from Kalokol Ward. And my question directly goes to specifics. One especially trade. Trade coming in hand with the Turkana Fishermen Cooperative Society. I appreciate the fact that we have the sons from Kalokol here, which it reminds me that they know the concept on how Turkana Fishermen Cooperative Society has been existing until the time it collapsed. In our outset, we don't say it collapsed, but from the outside world, they say it collapsed, but it is still in operation. My question is, trade as a model concept for Turkana County. Let me categorize that one from county. We had several kitties in the CDF section and in the NGAF, which had an opportunity to ensure that the trade development in Turkana is anchored across the Turkana Central, because Turkana Central is just majorly the 3K. And being the only fishing cooperative society with an economic base of fish that none from even the predecessor didn't do anything in comparison to Turkana Fishermen Cooperative Society. That is number one. Number two, on the same concept, is about a fund, a devolved fund function of the county government, which also tried on its own base. But the concept is that there is a model of one thing called what is this? Which always revived all business models be done in Turkana Central. I mean, especially along the lake, which now so many factories, and stores have already arrived, which now triggers the economy in Kalokol to go low. So what are we doing as the MPs to come, or whoever will take out of the opportunity to be one? What will you do to ensure that as an economic activity from the national government, what will they do to ensure that that one has thrived to the level that it is supposed to be done, being the only corporate society existing in Turkana? Number two, what will be your influence in the county government that will anchor, instead of depending on the national government, that we can do also in the county government to drive the economy in Turkana? That is question number one. Education sector. We have several education sectors in Turkana County. And my question goes into the shanty secondary schools, which have already thrived, but with no development structures. Now, what are you going to do to ensure that all these shanty secondary schools, which with the 2 classrooms, with a bus, which became now a bus was much of a priority? Last question. Perhaps this one I can direct to Honorable Joyce. I overheard your purpose of shelving the ambitions of becoming, running again for women rep is due to resource. And I remember Turkana County, there are several cars of NGAF running up and down with the same kitty NGAF fund. There are some part of sections which you really covered well, and there are some which were not covered, in particular water section, education section, which at least you catered in terms of bursary. Resources in the GAF and resources in CDF are almost at the same par, and you find that an economic stimulus also serves a major purpose in terms of infrastructural development in Turkana. So what are you going to do that is more different from NGA fund to CDA fund. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you. I hope you guys will.
Thank you. This is Geoffrey from Kerio. Geoffrey Eregai from Kerio Delta. I have two questions on the areas of education and agriculture, food security. And another two that have not been included. I feel have not been included in the aspects, in what the aspirants have said. What have not been included and touched very well is the security issue. We have security-prone areas. For example, we border Turkana East and Turkana South at some point. That is in Turkana, that is in Akale, Turkana South, and then Lomunyana Kwan in Turkana East. These are security-prone areas, and I feel they have not been addressed properly on how the security issue is going to be addressed. Number two, on what I feel the candidates have not actually mentioned very well, is the issue of market-driven programs. For instance, let's talk of gas, oil and gas industry. This is a virgin industry in the country, and as a county, we might not have the relevant capacity to handle such issues. We don't have capacity as a county. Not even as a county, as a country at the moment. Now, maybe as a member of the parliament for Turkana Central, how do you see you can capacitate professionals based on oil and gas industry? Those are the areas I feel they were not captured in the first place. In terms of education, no, let me start with agriculture. Agriculture in the first place, we are talking about food security. Agriculture is the backbone of the economy. What are the strategies in place? The strategies, the viable strategies in place to address the agricultural issues of the menace in the country. At the moment, let's see on the emergence, these prices issues, inflation in prices. That is an emerging issue that is currently affecting the country at large. I don't know if it is global. As a leader, are we aware of these emerging issues? And how do you think going ahead we can address such? We've been talking of water issues. And let me clarify this, I'm from Kerio. Kerio Delta, in entirety, does not lack water in entirety. It is only some points. For example, Katapakin village in Kerio Delta. You know, I've seen in most circumstances when issues of Kerio in terms of water are addressed, it seems like the whole Kerio Delta does not have water. We have areas in Kerio Delta that have clean water for consumption. Let's talk from Rodogateangol, Kangirisai, Nakoret, we have tap water, clean water for consumption. And some areas in Nadoto are getting water, clean water. It is only in Katapakin village and some areas, maybe Kakiman, that do not have clean water for consumption. Now, when we want to specialize and invest in aquifer, for example, do we also have the capacity? In the first place, I had most of the aspirants have a background in working with NGOs, non-governmental organizations and partnerships. Now, can we also borrow that idea so that we can get the we can have the proper people to ascertain the salinity we might have within the Turkana Central. Because at some point, if there is some saline areas, the quest to have clean water might be impossible at some point. So, thank you so much. Yeah.
I'm Silas from Alakol. I have 3 questions to ask. One, most of us have talked about education. Education has been said by all of us. But now nobody spoke about, nobody differentiated nobody talked about bursaries. I want to be specific. We have students. We have medical students from Kenya Medical Training Colleges. who usually receive 5,000 shillings as the bursary. We usually place them same to those students going to secondary schools. As our elected member of parliament, how are you going to differentiate the payment of these two different groups? Most of our KMTC students don't do their final exams. I'm told we have final exams next week. Most of them will not sit for them. Now, as an elected member of parliament, what are your plans on such students? Apart from Kenya Medical Training College students, let us go back to universities. We usually give them 5,000 shillings. So we need to check on that. Nobody talked of that. Secondly, I'm from Kalakol. We have fish business in Kalakol. I think I can say son, just start something on fishing. In Kisumu, we have regulations. And these regulations are made in the national assemblies. In Kisumu, we see how fish is regulated, fishing activities are regulated. But in Kalakol, as we speak, we have Congolese. We have different types of business people in Kalakol. They come, they engage some few people, they start business. To me, kuna ile unyanyasaji. Wewe kama ukichaguliwa, utafanya aje our business men and women in Kalakol wahakikisha kwamba kuna kitu wanapata. Because sometimes it depends, unapata hata samaki, unanunua samaki kwa sumoni. Samaki moja inauzwa kwa sumoni. So unashangaa huyu mama wa besheni atahitaji samaki ngapi ndio aende nyumbani na shilingi 100. So kumalizia, you all talked about, nobody talked about sports. It's only the former DG talked about sports. CDF chuko na 2.5% ya sports fund. And mimi nikisimama hapa, hata kuna wenye wako hapa, tunasimamia sporting activities in our different wards. So there's a time tulijaribu with the former member of parliament. Nobody sahi ameongelea. Hakuna mtu ameongelea. Ni kumaanisha pia mkichukua hii 2% itaenda tu. So capture that. I don't know kama iko kwa manifesto yenu. So thank you.
Honorable Atok Nicholas, MCA aspirant, Kalakol Ward. I think all of these aspirants hail from the Lake regions. Let me ask a categorical question. To ensure there is sustainability in business development, there is one aspect we need to use to make use of our available resource, which is now the blue ocean, the lake. What will you do to ensure there is productivity, capital, partnership in the lake region? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So to wrap up the first 5, my name is Toto. I also fought in Kalakol. So I have 3 questions. Number 1 is that part of the problem that it is cited to be alone in the flesh for people not to get bursary is corruption. So what specific actions are you going to do to handle corruption at the CDF offices? That is the first question. The second question is on pieces of legislation. We have talked about water, we have talked about infrastructure, roads and all that. So what pieces of legislation are you going to trigger on the following? 1, on water. Number 2, on the promptness of the equalization of funds, or the release of the equalization of fund. Number 3, infrastructure. And the last one, electricity. The last question is, how will you convince us that you are the suitable candidate to to be the member of parliament for Turkana Central? And what makes you qualified more than the rest of the the rest of the candidates? So that trust is what I would like any of you to convince us that you are the right person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you comfortable with those ones, or we add 5 more? We add 5 more? Very well. Lotum, Amuka. I'm looking for a lady on this side. Two, 3, 2 more. Yes, I've seen. Those are 3. Mwingine hii side? No. This side. Tuamuke? Come there. Tuamuke. 2 more people from this. Oh my God, this side. We will come to that side. Yes, come. Very quick here. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Dominic Lotum, Lokwawi, Lokwamoy. I'm the current Tukusa president. I'm not a voter in Turkana Central, but I live here. And as the president Tukusa, most of our operations are around Lodo Town and Turkana Central as the county headquarters. My question will be bordering on education and youth, which is areas of interest that we do as an association. My question is, it was a good question if we had different MP aspirants from all over the county, but still I know one of them will be a colleague of those that will be elected, hopefully, and they'll share this. Well, my question is, Tukusa as an association has existed for quite a long time now. It is actually older than devolution. It was first Tudusa, then metamorphosed to Tukusa. Most of you are members, probably leaders in the same association, or rather beneficiaries of some of the projects that Tukusa undertook at that time. We've also worked with Madam Joyce here. We worked with Dr. Bob at the county level. We've worked with Namwar. At least in this room, 90%, if not 95%, understand Tukusa. But straight to my question is that as an association, we've been undergoing some problems. And the main problem has been upon election of a political leader comes in. There's been a bit of problem with bursaries. Another problem has been on scholarships. So my question is, in your leadership, how are you seeking to involve the official students' body in Turkana? What will be the level of involvement? Because we are talking about an association that has an experience that is unmatched in handling student matters. It is quite a pity that we've gone to offices that we've had to introduce to KUSA. So we really want to know if the leadership that is coming will really put TUKUSA at the center of the educational agenda. When we talk about scholarships, Madam Joyce had mentioned about a database. These are the things that we had presented to the leadership that is sitting right now. TUKUSA is in a good position to really handle a lot of these things. I want you guys to really find in your leadership how you are going to integrate activities of TUKUSA, or rather there is SATCU, there is the branch, the TUKUSA branch at the constituency level. TUKUSA is well developed to the ward level. Those are my questions. What I want to be clear is that what is your leadership going to do or involve these upcoming student associations in delivering their mandate and delivering your mandate as a leader? Thank you so much.
Bwana zifua kwangu, sijui Kiingereza, ninaelewa Kiswahili. Katika kazi Joyce amefanya Turkana, tunaelewa kama kazi ya Turkana. Joyce ametusaidia sisi. Swali ambayo mimi nitauliza Mama Joyce. Mama Joyce, fanya ile kazi ulikuwa unafanyia sisi wa Turkana. Kama ile kazi ulikuwa unatufanyia katika fish, ile kazi ulikuwa unatufanyia katika watoto, hiyo ndio kazi tunahitaji wewe ufanye ukiwa MP. Kama kazi ambayo ulihitaji kutuchimbia maji, hiyo kazi ndio tunahitaji wewe ufanye.
Asanteni sana. Well, my name is Omakada David. Omakada David from Township Ward. I'm a voter at Mukeka ground. I know leaders are elected because of trust people have in your leadership. But I'm one among others who do not trust the politician. Among the people I do not trust are the politician, because they say this and they turn and say this. You have also seen in the media, they deny. So are the people that we don't trust, the politician. Ni waongo. But given that we want you to build our trust, that what you are talking, you are going to implement. And to make it worse, most of you have been in the leadership, either national government or county government. What is this new that you want to do that you have never done? Especially the first thing, what new strategies are you going to employ to ensure that you create employment for our youth? You are given, some of you are in the county government. How many people have you employed? You are given opportunity to employ people. That's one point. Number two, we have a lot of poverty. How are you going to, at the community level, family level, and even the household? You have worked in water. You have said that there were a lot of challenges in water. You are given that amount, and very little has been done. What new things, if given opportunity? Water is an issue that you are going to do. That you are now coming and saying that now we are going to address this. We want the people who are going to address our immediate problems, like creating employment, alleviating poverty, addressing water issue, and even the issue of road network. I've seen even the road from where? KRA office to this hotel. It's a place where people go and swim. There's a tarmac there going to the other side. But between this place, you have been watching as leaders. No action has been taken. So what are you telling us that you can do after serving for all these years and given opportunities? Those are the questions I want to ask. Thank you.
Good evening again. I'm sorry because nimekuja mara ya pili hapa. I'm called Alice again. I'm directing my question to Dr. Abok. Dr. Abok, you said you are going to improve livelihoods of Turkana Central people. That is the first one. The second one is the universal. You are going to bring universal health care. The first one, I'm now tackling the first one on livelihood. We grew up in Turkana Central. I think you know that. Hizo miaka zote, especially the back years of 90s. Fine, I think that's 2013. At least people's livelihood changed a bit. If you walk around Turkana Central, even in nearby villages like Napetet, Nakuamekwi, Tochorese, Kon, those outcasts, you will realize the livelihood of people is still poor, or it's still down. Some Turkana people, we are talking about Turkana Central, leave alone in the entire county. Some people, they can't even afford one meal. They afford it just any kobahati sana. Daktari ukasema uta improve livelihood yao watu. Haje, babu ni wengi sana. Hata tauni hii ya Ludo ukitembea kuna watu wanaomba kila saa. Maisha yao iko chini. Wao unasema uta improve. On universal health care, you've been a chief officer. I know you tried your best. Daktari, sometimes our people suffer. Mtu ameumwa na nyoka mbali na kutani. Mama anaumana somewhere in a nearby village. Ambulance hakuna, lakini daktari wewe ulikuwa wakati hizo kwa mamlaka. Saa hii ukiwa bunge utasaidia kweli, si utakuwa unaishi Nairobi.
Good evening. I'm Naguleo Dixon from Turkana North, but I reside in Apetet. My first question is that utulie kidogo. My first question is that we are all trying to do away with poverty, trying to ensure water in our households and for the livestock use. But there is one issue that's being forgotten for a while. That's something on NRM, National Resource Management. Pastoralism as a livelihood is in danger. Let's take next 10 or 20 years in Turkana Central. How will the pastoral livelihood look like? Will we be having floods, and sanitation all through to Kerio. How about the livelihood? And that's why someone said, aranga loop ngitunga kang baren. So how will you legislate on that? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I have a few questions to ask our aspirants. I heard you loud and clear talking about education. And on your point, you are talking of primaries and secondary. We expect one of you to be our leader in the next 1 month. What plans do you have about Turkana University College being the only public university in Turkana Central? Secondly, my question I will direct to Dr. Abok. I am also a resident of Kalokol, and there was a time in Kalokol there is a health center. That health center was demoted to be a dispensary. The community came to your office, they went home discouraged. They had no positive answer. Please, Honorable, would like you to clarify on what happened on the demotion of the health center. Thirdly, I would like to ask our women rep, you have served for 10 years, holding an office which receives about 60,000 per year. Sorry, 60 million. Thank you for the correction. 60 million, meaning 600 million for the period you have served. About 60% of the money MPs get. We have not seen, or personally, I have not felt the impact of the 60 million in your office, because I understand. Yeah. Thank you. Fourth, I would like to ask the two MPs, independent and the DC. They are all members of Kalokol. Kalokol has a pathetic issue coming to water. All of you stay there, your family is there. What effort did you put before or today and in the future so that we have a permanent solution on water issues? We want to avoid blames on whoever takes office, whether in the government, in the county government, or the MP position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us give our candidates an opportunity to respond to the issues raised. I hope different issues were directed to different people. Tuanze na nani ajibu swali? Let's start from Peter. Any question directed to you, please respond to it.
Thank you, Daktari. I think I was the lucky one. I was only one question has been directed to me, but I can still touch on one two that was general for the whole team.
Very
which
well.
Of course means I can as well. On Kalokol water, first I want to lay off some fears and allegations that Kalokol has cartels and that's why it is not working. That has just been a way to dodge the responsibility by those bearing the responsibility. I'm from Kalokol, and the issue of cartels is non-existent. It's a creation of some kind to have an excuse. All right, but that was not the question. The question was what we are doing. Is that so, moderator? Is it that what we are doing? I want to say, as Peter, I have a center in Kalokol, a nutrition center built by a trust fund, which is mine, and we are working with partners. 200 meters from there, sometime last year, we had Brother Dario with partners. We went, and we have got a point in Kalokol, I think Brizan and some others know from here, that has a stream of water flowing from the hills to Lake Turkana. As to why it has been dodging all the experts, I do not understand. That point is there, is surveyed. I'm only looking for partners to drill that water. That is specific on me because it was said, what are you doing? Because I stay in Kalokol and I feel it. Second level of the same, what are we doing? We are working with the starters at Loropio to see other sites that we can get more water and more sites that can support the aspects of water in Kalokol. 3, of course, we will want to work with the county government when that time comes as an MP for Turkana Central to see to it that these sites, alongside others that the county government will have, will bear fruits for Kalokol. This is not a hearsay. It is what is there, you can put your finger in. I think that is the question from Peter Ekoma on water from Kalokol. On university, I think I should be the one having that answer for you. Last year and early this year, January, we had talked with Dr. Oliver, you all know Erupe, and we were trying to work out on getting the charter for Turkana University. Okay, say for it that we are now out of the office. Give me this job and you get that because it's a discussion that is there right in my feet. So Turkana University, priority should be getting a charter so that we continue computing. And thanks for the leadership and the lecturers in the university, because already they are somewhere in the map and they are put us somewhere. Now with the charter, I'm sure we will be more and more recognized. So that to me is something, is a quick fix that can be done. There were a few general questions that I would also want to touch, if you won't mind. Yeah? General questions that were put across, or
2 minutes.
Oh. Silas, sports, bursaries. My intention, if I get that position, currently each ward in Central is allocated between 2 to 3 million. It has to be purposed. We have to do it direct. It has to go at least 5 million per each ward to cushion that bit. Then we have a kitty. I'm thinking of creating a kitty that the CDF will have to put some money, seed money, and then attract partners so that we have a basket that is geared for specified skills. Because it's unfortunate we have, like Daktari, the only one we have is thinking differently. Then we have to replace those skills. Or we have to convince him otherwise to remain, but get others to nurture others as well. So the idea is CDF under me will create a kitty for specified skills, specialized skills that will see Turkana Central go to another level. Not only having 1 or 2 people, and when they think otherwise, then we are dead. So rest assured from me, there will be that kitty and it will be created. So don't worry about the 2% that is legal, but it has to come to 5 million from the 2 that is there now. That I think on the sports as well, you didn't mention this, that as it is now, I have asked for you 2 names and I'm negotiating with Bandari FC for 2 names from Kalokol, and they will be taken there to be tested, and if they qualify, then we have Turkanas from this side playing outside. This is about my program on talent promotion. We can't just have kids playing here, singing here, and nobody's taking them to another level.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks.
Let's come to Moses.
Thank you, Daktari. I will mention one or two things in areas mentioned. One about education. I think one participant has asked something about schools that were started with 1 or 2 classrooms and have been left running with those kind of infrastructure. And I think the question was, are we going to put up other schools? Are we going to do anything to the existing ones? This is my honest position on this one. Coming from a background of an educationist who wishes to have value added to what is existing, I don't intend or I don't plan to start any other schools within Turkana Central. I'm going to add value to what is existing. Now, you've heard of very sad stories of schools like Loturere, where students are housed or have been housed in a butchery. And the latest is that I think these students change a classroom and a dormitory depending on the hours of the day and the night. And these are very sad stories happening within Turkana Central, a constituency or a sub-county that's supposed to have moved miles and miles away even from other sub-counties. So you can take it from me that one thing that I will do for sure would be to strengthen and to enhance on the resources and the infrastructure that are already existing, with no intentions to start on any other that, of course, will not be matching with the rest of the schools. And of course, with such, we'll also try to work in terms of making sure that the Teacher Service Commission, as I said, should do the staffing for these schools. Every school is supposed to have what is called a CBE, curriculum-based establishment, which is approved, or it's supposed to have an approved CPC. Curriculum-based establishment, CBE. That is a formula in which a calculation is done on what number of teaching staff are supposed to be in a given school, whether it's a single stream school or a double or a triple and so on and so forth. And so that is something that I will try to follow up, because if such a mechanism is in existence, then it is easy to follow, because you can only take TSC to task that this school meets this CBE. Why is it not being staffed as it is supposed to be? And lastly, something on CDF, Daktari, that has been mentioned. I think Toto mentioned about one factor affecting a CDF is corruption. I want to give it from me that you require leaders that have zero tolerance to corruption. And I can promise you that one. That CDF will be spent for reasons and for purposes it's been intended. That if CDF provisions are supposed to go into funding education for students in high schools, colleges, and universities, you can take it from me that that is exactly what is going to happen. That we are going to remove a corruption tag from that particular fund. You can take it from me. And of course, one other participant, just to finish up with Daktari, something tied to that, because one participant said that there are students in high schools, there are students in colleges like MTCs, and students in universities, who get allocation of, let's say, 5,000 across the board. I think I mentioned when I began that I intend to come up with a software that can be shared across a CDF office and the Turkana County Government Bursary Allocation Office, so that we can be able to capture all students within Turkana Central who are applying for, for funding across the board. That way, we can be able to establish which student is in a university which student is in a tertiary institution and which student is in college, in high school. And then, of course, we can be able to classify and see how much, in terms of the minimum and the ceiling or the highest, we could give to a student in a high school.
Thank you.
The minimum and the highest for a student in college and the university, as it were. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Moses. Let's now go to Joseph. I hope you will be brief.
Thank you so much, members of who are our bosses and listening to us. Thank you so much. I want to pick on the issue of understanding that our bosses, the guys who are currently interviewing us, ready to give us the job, are aware of what we need to do. I want to say thank you so much. People have talked about the blue economy. You have been able to point out the issues of fishing or fisheries. You have been able to talk about the extractives, and you've been able to point out the enablers, like the need for rare skills in the extractives. You've been able to to tell us how we can be able to legislate on how we can be able to propel and get the benefits out of the blue economy. You've also been able to mention the fact that we need to have legislative frameworks on water. I think what I want to pick up from these audiences, they are very much aware of where we want to proceed. And from our level, there are things that we cannot be able to force. But the responsibility we've been given to legislate, to represent, and to oversight comes out very clearly. For example, when we talk about the equalization fund, because that's also a concern here, the equalization fund already is being legislated. We have the equalization fund 2019 bill, which is already in the National Assembly. It is a matter of getting there and ensuring that it is getting implemented. The issue of the blue economy and extractives in Turkana needs to come up, Andy. And I want to speak about an issue that just happened this financial year. 13 billion was awarded for fisheries to the fishing sector. This 13 billion was never transferred to Turkana, to Lake Turkana. Nothing on the blue economy. You all know where it went. It went to the Indian Ocean and it went to Lake Victoria. Not even a shilling came to Lake Turkana. And so I think I picked the issue that you guys understand what we need. And you know, extractives can even earn us a living better than petroleum or oil. That is a concern. I know we need rare skills to help us also get an impetus in joining the petroleum sector. The issue of sports for development is very key. And for me, it comes under agenda number 1 on self-reliance. And it is high time we need to identify sports as an income-generating activity, not just to make us healthy, but to put something inside our pockets. And ladies and gentlemen, I am in a party that is promoting the bottom-up economic model. And when we speak about it, we have issues that we integrate, that we call cross-cutting. Part of it is on PWDs, persons with disability. How can they be brought up to the level where these people can be recognized? And we call it kazi ni kazi because you have to sweat so that you can be able to earn. Last point, Daktari. I want to speak with Omakada. Omakada is in charge of this bursary kitty in the county government, and is actually being identified in the Turkana County Education and Skills Development Fund. And when it is removed from the MCS, and Omakada is a key element or has a higher responsibility when
these bursaries is being awarded. And I want to remind Omakada, as much as you want to trust us, as much as we want us to trust you, you must also keep to your responsibility. Remember the calls that I made to you? You remember the calls? And when we speak about corruption, those are the incidents that we want to point out. Where committees write minutes that are not typed. And when they get to the education office, they get typed and other names and no names are inserted into the word kitty for, let's say, Kerio, for, let's say, Apedo. Those are the things that we need to stamp out. And we are talking about the data. And again, for us who are in UDA, when we get to those levels and we have MCS that can work together with us, because we have the education kit for county government, we have CDF, we have NGAV. We must speak as leaders who have these kitties on how we can be able to have one data so that we don't have double payments or double beneficiaries. Someone is in NGAV, is also in CDF, is also in the county kit. Those are the things that Tukusa you need to understand. I was the organizing secretary for Tudusa those years, and Nakuleo was my chairman. The issue of corruption amongst Tudusa officials needed to be clearly defined. And it must start with us, all of us. As much as you want us to be dull here in this university, nobody is to benefit out of it. The county government fund. And I know if there are names that people got out of it or they got a lot of money from this double or triple access, there's need for us to see how we can be able to see those who have not been reached can also be reached. We have a lot of money.
Thank you.
We have a lot of money. I grew up when there was nothing, until when Mariam Saitoti came and did a Rambe year in Turkana for me to be paid 30,000 to go to Moyai School Kabara. Nowadays we have more than enough. Yes, there is population, but are we awarding rightly? That's the question.
Thank you, Joseph. Let's now go to Honorable Joyce. I know you had a battery of questions. Dr. Boko, the one. Let's start with Madam Joyce so that we finish with you. Silence, please. Silence, please.
Thank you. Being the teacher I am, I think questions that were directed to me, I'll start with those, but I also have responses for a number of others that were not necessarily directed to me. I first want to correct the notion that gets per constituency, 5 million per constituency. It is supposed to be 7, but part of it remains in Nairobi for administrative purposes. So it's around roughly 5 point something per constituency. An MP gets 100 million per constituency. So you can compare that. The 5 million that comes for NGAF is meant for table banking, for bursary, for value addition, for women groups, for infrastructure. Just imagine that. So if we have been able to do the few infrastructural developments, out of that, it's like a miracle. NGAF has been paying 300 students. Hello? NGAF has been paying 300 students per year, bursaries.
Silence, please. Silence, please.
I think it's the truth that is sinking. NGAF is paying 300 students per year, and the way I categorize my bursaries, nobody gets 5,000. It's a shame to give a student 5,000. Thank you, Mheshimiwa Namwar. I never give 5,000. I give secondary schools 10,000 per student. I just sent a check of 100,000 for 10 students to Lodo High School. a check to Katilu, a check to all the secondary schools. For secondary school students, 10,000. For colleges, including TTI, ETTI, and KMTC, it is 15,000 and above. For universities, and the university students are here, even the college students are here, they can confirm. For universities, it is 20,000 and above. I have students whom I'm giving full bursary. I have a student who is doing aviation. She's going to be the first pilot lady. It is taking long because it is expensive. I just disbursed 200,000 to that single student. I have an engineer, a girl who has finished from Lokichar. She's called Dorcas Etade. So I'd rather give bursary to a few students who will finish than giving 3,000, 5,000, and they all come back home. And now, for value addition, we have been supplying fishing gear. If you go to the fish market in Lodwar, you'll see fish sheds. We have been doing table banking. Currently, we have 100 women groups revolving a total of 60 million out of that little money. We have social halls for women, one in Natole, one in Napeililim, one in Takwel, one in Kalemngorok. We have a multi-purpose hall for youth which is yet to be opened because we are yet to furnish it. This is going to cater to actually make them busy because we will put some games, indoor games in that hall. We'll put a big screen for them to watch football. So there are all these plans within GAF, but the resources are very minimal. And I would want to say those achievements really define my suitability. And going to the question of suitability, yes, my first achievement I gave you earlier, the Turkana Bible. In Oxfam, I built schools, dams, I had many programs. I actually established TEFA, Turkana Education for All, which is still existing. We established TWADO, Turkana Women Advocacy and Organization, Development and Advocacy. We established ABET, Alternative Basic Education, for pastoralists who are unable to go to the conventional schools. I have worked with the Tukusa. I have worked with you. We have had fundraisers, one in Eldoret. We have had a list of students from Tukusa. So I am in touch with Tukusa. For youths, in terms of jobs, somebody asked what jobs. I employed two youths in NSSF, 2 youths in Kenya Power, prisons 2, Kengen 1, Talo 1 engineer who is even abroad. That is not counting the people in my office, because I have offered 20 staff members drawn from across the county. And because of time, if I may be allowed to go to the Turkana fishermen.
Please summarize.
Okay, let me summarize. The Turkana Fishermen Cooperative Society has really featured. So we are not going to wait for NORAD to come back. We have enough money in this county to actually bring back Turkana Fishermen Cooperative Society to where it is supposed to go. So we only, at our level, national level, we only need to liaise with the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries. It is actually intersectoral. Ministry of Trade and Cooperatives also, and the county government. So that we need to revive the cooperative by raising the seed capital, giving them the seed capital, and also working on the membership. So that we have an active membership that will really revive the thing. As it is now, really it is dead.
Thank you very much. finally, Dr. Abok.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Can we reduce the noise, please? Reduce the noise.
Please. Thank you, Dr. Logiron, for the opportunity to speak last and give my comments on the questions I was asked. I want to thank the members of who asked over 20 questions. Questions that have been illuminating, actually, even eye-opening. Now, there were specific questions directed at me, and I'm going to touch on them. But there were general questions that I will briefly, not necessarily gloss over, but give a comment on. Now, I think it is not lost on us that for the last 4 years, absolute poverty in Turkana has moved from 78 to 92%. 78% to 92%. That means to afford 3 square meals. This should not be lost on us. It should not be lost on us that in the social sectors that we comment on, that improvement on livelihoods, the determinants of how well we fare elsewhere. For example, where my attention is among women and children. Now, I had mentioned an issue about improved livelihoods. And I wanted to speak to the worsening poverty levels in Turkana Central. Poverty is even higher around the peri-urban populations in Lodwar. The villages around Lodwar, many people will go on days on end without knowing where the next meal will come from. This is what motivates my mantra, Tonok Kilawi, Tonok Utungawi Dang. Because if you walked around, you will realize poverty is grinding in Lodwar. Now, how do we move about these issues of improved livelihoods? We had mentioned that if we were able just to improve to work on the aquifer and improve the irrigation scheme in Napu alone, in Kakwanyang alone, in Nadapal, in Naipa, this should be able to take care of our people and the animals. The problem has been the resolve. The problem has been the leadership. This is why my focus is actually on water first and irrigation to improve livelihoods. I'm moving to another very critical aspect on trade. There's a lot that has been mentioned about trade. But look at it. How many indigenous people are actually doing real substantial trade? I look at the loans that are being given here or elsewhere. It is a pity that you give a businessman a loan of 20,000. I look at my level that loans should minimum be around 250,000, even if not more. That should be able to spur development and trade in Turkana Central. I've looked at the issue of livestock and insurance. We should be able to actually insure our people from the vagaries of weather and drought. Issues about fish and youth empowerment. It is not lost on us that a lot of our youth are actually now banking on borders. It is time that actually we made borders and beyond profitable, so that the youth, most of whom are borders, can actually form cooperatives and are able to own buses that can reach Kitale or Eldoret. This is one of the things that I think are one of my focus areas. Now, I want to move to another critical area that I was asked. Somebody asked, we need actually to insulate the indigents in this county. You realize that in Baba's agenda, there's something called Pesa Mfukoni. Pesa Mfukoni is 6,000 per family. This speaks to the indigents. This speaks to families that are not able to afford 3 square meals. Now, there's something that was asked about ambulances by one of us, that what did you do around ambulances? Now, let me tell you. The first ambulances that are still serving Turkana, I actually, myself, ensured that 6 ambulances were brought to Turkana when I was working with UNICEF. It is unrivaled. On top, I also got 3 more ambulances that are still serving Turkana. In total, 9 ambulances. Secondly, I want to speak to another area that is very critical, which somebody really asked. Now, I remember Alice's question. I want to state categorically that if I am not deluded that 100 million is enough for the problems of Turkana Central, 100 million is too little. 100 million is equivalent to the money that I got for Lodo County referral in a single year. 100 million is actually half of the money that I got for Kerio Health Center, a major health center, a model health center. 100 million is a third of the money that I got for Kangatosa, which was 42 million. 100 million is so little, like the money that I got for Luwarangak. I have a history, a background. 100 million is so small compared to the money that when I was in charge of WASH in UNICEF, I made sure that 78 boreholes and 10 sandstorms were actually brought in Turkana, Central and Loimba, 78. I have a background of fundraising, and I'm not deluded that 100 million is enough for us. We actually need 400 million, 500 million. Who is well able to get 400 million? I think I am, from my history. I had expected that we'll talk about our keystone, our signature performances that should make us well suited for this job. I want to say this, that I was particularly touched by the question brought by Kalokol. Initially, I was fundraising for Kalokol using UKID money.
Hope you're summarizing.
I will summarize, but these are very critical and weighty questions. You could give me a little more time. Now, Kalokol is a very serious area in terms of healthcare. I found Kalokol has a Tier 1 facility. Now, move away from this dispensary health center business. We have tires. Kalokol was a Tier 1 facility. When I came to Kalokol, I held 6 meetings. In Kalokol, the dispensary was almost shut down. There was no lab. There was no staff. I actually posted 3 nurses. I posted 3 lab people. I made sure the lab was operationalized. I would have been very keen if you are truthful. And I made sure it's operational. The same thing happened with many other facilities around Kangatosa. I want to speak to one other critical question that was asked by Alice, and she really asked a very important question. The question was, what are you going to do about UHC? I have spearheaded the UHC's roadmap for Turkana. The 3 critical determinants of UHC. The roadmap I left with Honorable Nanok. Secondly, the same roadmap was stolen by national level. I am actually going to take over that roadmap at the national level, if you elect me. So UHC, if you elect me and give me, and I go and fight, I think the UHC roadmap can be rolled, not just for Turkana, not just for Central, but for the whole of Kenya. Because it is disheartening to do a Harambee for people who are sick. It is so scary that if you are to go to an ICU, which I built for the first time in Turkana. There was no ICU in Trans Nzoia. There is no ICU in West Pokot. The first ICU was in my short time, which I prioritized when I was in Turkana. Now, if you are in coma, you will actually be taken care of in Turkana. Some of us who will probably not pass and might go into some shock can actually be taken care of in the ICU. Secondly, there's an issue that was brought about funding. It is very sad to give somebody 2,000, 3,000 as school fees. It is very disheartening. I will tell you this. This is very disheartening, that if there is anything that I find an ISO or an ESO is giving somebody 2,000, 3,000. This you will not hear if you elect me. However, I want to copy, or probably better, the model for Loima. I think in my time here, I want to see many medical doctors paid for by CDF, many engineers paid for by CDF, many water engineers who have gone to Israel, to Netherlands, to study how to manage water, to study how to manage irrigation. That is my focus. I am the one who is well able, who has racked up more achievements, who actually can prove that I have fundraised and resourced for Turkana Central. Ask anyone else. And therefore, I want to ask you to be elected the MP for Turkana Central. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And finally, I want to ask this question. You will give us your parting shot, but before you give us your parting shot, which way for Turkana Central? Are you taking us to Azimio or Jubilee, and why? Then after that, you give us.
Okay.
After that, you give us your parting shot.
Okay, thank you so much, Daktari. Which way Turkana Central? I want to call upon the residents and the voters of Turkana Central to go for candidates that can make a difference in the lives of the people of Turkana Central. Parties or no parties notwithstanding, I am an independent candidate, and it is proven now that taking people the direction of 6 Ps or voting people 6 because of a party has proven to be a total failure, because in that way it has been possible to bring in people who have destroyed the lives of the people in this constituency. And so I want to call upon the people of Turkana Central to go for the right people, to go for the right candidates, to go for people that can serve the residents of Turkana Central. Finally, my shot. You can give a very elaborate manifesto or agenda, but without being the right candidate or a right leader, without being a leader with values and virtues, without being a man or a woman of integrity, it is all going to be null and void. So I want to call upon the residents of Turkana Central and the voters for that matter, that money, positions, manifestos may not do as much if we are not going to get the right leaders. We need the right leaders, or we need the right leader for this matter, talking about MP for Turkana Central. You need the right leader, a leader with values and virtues, a leader who has a record of being a man of integrity. Vote Moses Eros as that candidate. God bless you.
Thank you, Moses. To you, Joseph. Which direction to Turkana Central and why?
Okay.
And then you give your parting shot. 3 issues.
Thank you so much for the session. Thank you, audience, for the good questions. UDA is the party. In UDA, we are talking about bottom-up economic model. In UDA, we are talking about pesa mfukoni. In UDA, we are talking about kazi ni kazi. Kama wewe ni mama mboga, kazi ni kazi. Kama wewe ni mtu wa bodaboda, kazi ni kazi. Number 2, my party leader, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, has touched lives in Turkana County. The first case is Honorable Napuleu, the first Turkana to go to East Africa Legislative Assembly in Arusha. The second is Right Honorable Ekwe Eduro, the first Turkana to be the Senate Speaker of this country. That's a Turkana. Number 3, Dr. Richard Akai, the first ambassador for Thailand. The first Turkana to be appointed as director for presidential campaigns, Governor Nanok. The first. Ruto is making lots of history and is creating a lot of landmarks here in this county. Number 3, on projects. Ruto has built 5 classrooms in Eros. Ruto built 5 classrooms in Kalimnyang. He started Napelim Secondary School. He started Moyai School, Kalokol. Those are tangible things we can feel, we can see. That is the party. And we must say, as it is, UDA will form the next government, Ruto will be the 5th president, and that will be our government for Turkana County, where we belong. We have persons of integrity. Integrity is a component of moral principles and honesty. That is all about integrity. And it takes integrity to ensure that we are able to move to the second level of our leadership. I want you guys to test me. I want you guys to appreciate the fact that I have been able to work for more than 18 years without being sacked, without my contract being stopped at some level. I have been in this government running. I have worked in 3 organizations, including government, without doubts. And I resigned gently to join politics. A very lucrative position. And I know that my slogan, "A teach born," will deliver my 5-point agenda for Turkana Central. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, Joyce, Madam Joyce. 3 questions, but you added the 4th bit about the debate on zoning.
Thank you. First, which way? The Azimio way. The Azimio way with Raila the 5th. Personally, I have been attracted to Azimio because Azimio considers women. I was in Ruto's office when Senator Jane, the aspirant for Senate, was told that seat cannot be taken by a woman, it's for a man. I walked out of that office with the feelings that women are not required in UDA. So I am in for Azimio, for Raila, Tosha. And in the county, it is Munyes. Tukue Munyes State na tutafika Canaan. Okay. Just a few comments. A few comments before we close. I think my pet topic here today is to improve enrollment, retention, and performance in education institutions. And we can only do that by improving the facilities that are already existing. That is the pet topic and is what CDF is all about. All these other things we are talking of, agriculture, what, we will be kind of really cheating ourselves if we tell you we'll be doing all this. Our key job as MPs is to oversight, legislate, represent, and do budgeting. So we can only support in advocating for more budgets for the different items that you have mentioned here. Otherwise, Turkana problems sometimes are beyond what we can manage because we are looking at climate change induced vulnerabilities. Some of these things need really research and studies to get answers and even to get long-lasting answers and address the root causes. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, Dr. Roberts.
Thank you very much. It looks like...
Though you forgot the zoning debate.
Okay, sorry. This zoning thing, we are ready for it. We are ready for it.
Thank you, thank you. Let's proceed, Roberts.
Thank you very much. I want to thank my fellow aspirants, actually candidates for the seat, for conducting, please, for
silence, please, silence.
I want to thank my fellow aspirants or candidates for conducting mature and focused discussions on the way forward for Turkana Central. And I want to thank the members of the voters in Turkana Central, especially who took their own time to come here to listen to the leaders here. I want to thank you very much. Secondly, which way? It is clear that there is no other way. It is only Baba way. It is Baba way or no way. Why Baba way? I want to tell you that Turkana had only one governor. In 2017, Nanok vied as a chairman of Council of Governors. Can you imagine one Turkana becoming the national chair of Council of Governors? Only possible because of Baba. It will not have been possible because if you are from a bigger tribe, you have many people. This will not have been possible. It is only possible through Baba. As we talk, you know that Baba has key priorities. Baba Care. Baba Care wants to eliminate. Baba Care is universal health coverage. Baba Care, by the time you elect Baba on the 9th, all of you will be having cards which will take care of you in hospitals, and you will not spend a shilling in the hospitals. The indigents, the poor, recall this. The world has changed. There are new acronyms in the world called Journey to Self-Reliance. I don't know whether you know that. Kenya has been refaced and is now a lower middle income country. We have Journey to Self-Reliance. There are things about co-creation, co-planning, co-implementation. This is critical because going forward, a lot of things about Journey to Self-Reliance. And I think Baba is about self-reliance. Now, if you look at where we are actually losing our money, it is corruption. Baba is going to deal with corruption, and we are going to have a lot of money for every program in this country. If you are a corrupt person, fear for your life, for your own life, because Karua will even be the minister for that area. I will tell you that when Baba takes over, we lose our money through corruption. Therefore, corruption will be a thing of the past, because corruption steals our future. It steals the future of our children. It steals the future of the unborn. Secondly, I want to say that President Fukoni, the 6,000, was actually Baba's idea. That there is no indigent that will suffer when Baba comes on board. Every household will be insulated. Now, at this other level, I want to say that for the Turkana Central seat, kindly listen. For the Turkana Central seat, if there is a candidate here who doesn't talk about thirsty animals, thirsty people, if there is a candidate here who has ever been have taken care of water, think twice. Because water is the biggest problem for Turkana Central. And if there is the biggest human right abuse that has ever happened, it is in the water for animals and people in Turkana County and in Turkana Central. If a candidate does not talk about corruption, think twice. If a candidate does not talk about water, think twice. We are going to have a level 6 hospital in Lodwar that will employ 3,000 people, some of them well able to take care of their households. Now, on zoning, I think let's not beat about the bush. If we were to be zoned, it would be between me and for example, Mheshimiwa Joyce. But Joyce has to write a letter at this level to IBC that she's not willing to buy, or Dr. Abok has to write a letter. So zoning does not apply until you accept it. So if there was zoning between me and my in-law, I'm actually married to the sister who is here. If there was zoning between me and my in-law, I will ask them to zone Joyce because she has been there for 10 years and she has pension. Second, with a light touch, I want us to go into this politics with maturity. We should avoid fights and shun fighting. Let's go into this politics peacefully. I am vouching for Napotikan to be the next governor for Turkana County. I want the people of Capital to sleep soundly. I want the people of Loboka to sleep soundly, like the people of Loima are sleeping soundly now. No gun will be shot in Loima, no gun will be shot in Lobokat, no gun will be shot in Capital once Napotikan takes over. So Napotikan is really no choice. There's really no choice because we're talking about our land, we're talking about our future and the future of our children. Now, I want to beseech you to look at us, to look at who says and does, to look at who actually can mention that he has fundraised, who has evidence of fundraising, who has gotten funds over 500 million for the Turkana people.
Thank you, Robert.
Let me just finish. It's just 1 minute. And then look in your hearts and see. And as you go to the ballot, just say, I want to give this to Dr. Abok for the future of Turkana Central. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let us go to Peter.
Thank you, Daktari.
Minus the zoning.
Don't worry. Thanks for this invitation again. Which way? I think statistics is very clear. Which way? The way is Azimio. So out of 5 people, you have 3 for Azimio, and you have 1 for UDA, and then independent. So statistics is very clear. Azimio is the way, okay? The second one, of course, Daktari a little bit forgets that Baba is Azimio, is not ODM. And if not for Azimio, I think Baba, okay. And then of course, we will not forget the fact that politics is not just about trying. This is about the lives of people of Turkana. We can only entrust none other than John Kiyonga Munyez for the gubernatorial position.
Tunyamase kidogo tusikize.
If you talk about security, this is a guy who is well versed both international borders, and you can tell all the way from Ugandan border, Naktongo, South Sudan border, Nadapal, all the way to Kibish. So it cannot be compared to the children play within the ground here. Our borders in Turkana will be safe with John Munyez. When it comes to food security, this is a guy who has been a manager of Oxfam. This is a guy who has risen to being CS in special programs. What is this that will be so difficult for Munyes in Turkana? So, for governor position, please don't waste your vote, spare it and put it for John Munyes Kion.
Thank you very much.
My position.
Yes.
I think I'm tried, I'm tested and proven. You must, from my counterparts, they are talking about what they have done when they were employed. I intentionally moved away from what I was doing when I was employed to what I can do as Peter Akai Lokoel. A leader has to be creative. A leader has to find. All right. Usijali ilikuwa ni shetani tu. Na huyu jamaa ndiye alifinya. Sorry, we friends. So a leader has to be creative, has to find his way for his people. It's not about, you don't just wait for what you are doing when you are employed. If that has to be the case, a life example and sustainable is about the social protection funds that you know and commonly called Nakasko, which everybody in this county knows I initiated single-handedly, and it was accepted. If you go for older persons policy, the first policy you will find Peter Akai when I was in charge of social protection, Helpage International. So I'm not going about what I did when I was employed. I'm telling you as a leader what I can do for as small as creative economy, the talent promotion, very important. So do not just wait for people who are waiting to be employed. I want to serve you and give me a chance and you will not regret this position. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I want our candidates now to come forward. Simama tu hapo mbele ya kiti. Mbele ya kiti, shika microphone yako. Shika microphone yako. Employers wa hawa mnataka campaign ifanywe aje? Kwa amani, si ni ukweli? Tunataka hao watu kabla wajasalimiana. I want to tell you one thing. I have worked with the Akai, Abok, Madam Joyce, Namwar, and Commissioner here. These guys are friends, they are in-laws. Funny enough, they all come from Lake Zone. And Madam Joyce, by default, she's married in the Lake Zone. So they are one person. I beseech them to campaign peacefully, work together, na tukubali matokeo. Tumekubaliana wenzangu? Mimi tu nasungumza si kama moderator, kama ndugu yenu, kama mkaazi wa Central. Nimeomba muambie watu wenu wa Central kuwa tutafanya campaign bila noma. Hatutatumia vijana kuleta chuki baina yenyu na wao. Nimesema vizuri? So nataka kila mtu aseme hi. Si ndio? Hi aseme jina yake. Swear that nitafanya kampeni yangu bila noma. Sawa sawa? Na tumalize hivyo, tupatie watu wapeane photo of thanks. Alafu tusalimiane.
Tuletee Biblia basi na lawyer.
Tunashika tu kifua hivi. Hii ni it's a matter of trust. Aya tuanze hi. Hi. Dr. Robert Ntiopo. Nitafanya kampeni yangu bila noma.
Bila noma.
Sitafanya uchochezi.
Sitafanya uchochezi.
Na nitakubali matokeo.
Na nitakubali matokeo.
Mungu nisaidie.
Mungu nisaidie.
Tusalimiane. Tusalimiane.
Yes.
Tutahitaji watu wawili watapeana photo of thanks, watuambie show imekuwa aje. Tukijipanga hapa tukipiga picha.
Asante sana. Aha. Wazi.
Tropics, cheza kama wewe. Yes. Venye wanachukua mapicha, I will love. Tusitoke. Hatujamaliza, tusitoke. Bro. I want you, kaa karibu hapo. Where is Brizan? Brizan where? Brizan where? Yes. Alafu, ladies and gentlemen, tafadhali usitoke. We have an announcement to tell you. Tuko na announcement ya kuambia. Next Sunday, we are having another debate ya women rep. All the 4 women rep wamekubali kuja. That is Madam Pauline, Honorable Udande, Honorable Ishu, and Honorable Susan. So next Sunday, tafadhalini mkuje. Then baada hiyo, we are going to another sub-county. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been an honor. Asanteni sana our candidates. Tunawashukuru sana. Na tafadhali like our page, like our pages. Go to YouTube, angalia search Conan ama Canon, K-A-R-A-N-O-N media, tafadhali. Tunashukuru Sunbream Premium Bread. Tunashukuru Opal Apartments. Tunashukuru the Turkana University College. Tunashukuru Marble Events Kenya. Na tunashukuru K-Bata Print. Tunashukuru Chambers Park Place. Tafadhalini.
Turkana University was established in 2017. It is a constituent college of Masinde Muliro University. Turkana University has 3 schools. We have the School of Business and Economics, we have the School of Education and Social Sciences, and we have the School of Science. Turkana University admits both national and international students. We have the students under the COOPS program, and we have the self-sponsored program. Within our self-sponsored program, we have the students from South Sudan, who are the refugees and sponsored by Windle Trust. And the other students are from within Turkana County. A good number of them work with Turkana County government. So those are our major clients. A good number of the students we've got is from Southern Sudan. But from our marketing, we've marketed across, and we are expecting students from Ethiopia, Sudan, and Uganda. You should join university. Turkana University offers the programs, they offer what is required in the market. Agriculture, science and technology, mathematics. We carry out CBC programs. We offer short courses that are offered at the school, Kenya School of Government. This is where you can get what you want. You need it.
Hello. Hello beautiful people, ladies and gentlemen. Sitotaka kujua kama wasee wanakula mkate. If people love bread. And the bread that I'm talking about ni gani? Ni Sunbream. Sunbream premium bread. Na leo, me and my crew, we've decided to take a surprise, an impromptu visit to the shops and to the households. Alafu baadaye tuende kwa ofisi ya Sunbream, tusikie wase wa Sunbream wanasemaje. Umeget? But in the meantime, I'm in my house. I have my 800 grams. So nataka kujua if those guys at the shop are selling to you this, na kama nyinyi mnaenda kutembelea shop. See you in a bit. Boom. Mambo. Naitwa nani?
Naitwa Ruby Baraka Shop.
Ruby Baraka Shop.
Yeah.
Mimi ni mtu wa Sunbream. Okay. Naitwa Dail.
Hivyo ni vizuri.
Uko poa?
Uko poa.
Safi. Sasa Ruby.
Yeah.
Mimi nimekuja hapa story ya mkate.
Yes.
And mbona unauza Sunbream?
Nauza Sunbream kwa sababu ni mzuri sana. Hata unapokula huwezi tamani kupaka blue band.
Haya, sasa na wale watu wenye wanakuja kununua Sunbream hapa wanasemaje kuhusu Sunbream?
Wanasema Sunbream ni mkate soft sana, ni mkate safi sana.
Iko poa?
Iko poa kabisa.
Na wewe as a person venye watu wanakuambia ni mkate fiti na venye wewe unaiona, wewe unawezaje advice mtu mwenye hajai kula Sunbream, utamwambia nini?
Na advice ya kuwa ajaribu kula Sunbream, atapenda sana kuliko hizo zingine.
Zile zingine?
Yeah.
Na nauliza, kuna hii mkate ya 800 grams ile kubwa.
Yeah.
Unauza?
Yeah.
Watu wananunua?
Yes.
Ni hebu nipe. Lovely. Safi. Uko feti asante sana. Sisi tunajaribu kujua ni nini inaendelea.
Okay.
Ndio tujue wakuu wetu watuambie kama tunafanya kazi mzuri ama tufanye kazi mzuri. Mambo baba.
Mambo poa.
Majina?
James Akai.
James Akai.
Yeah.